Oh yeah, hi, we're live. But I'm gonna play my video because it's just like dutifully correct. Have you seen my
Of
which one
course,
do you
of
want?
course.
Yeah.
Good viewer,
Ooh,
you are watching Xirtus.
I don't know,
This
just one
is
of the
because
creepy Xirtus
Xirtus
talking
makes
people
you
in the
feel
beginning.
good,
I don't know your
makes you
choices.
feel fulfilled.
She's
You
pretty.
are enjoying this. You will continue to watch
She looks like she
Xirtus for
focuses
a
on her
long
work.
time to come. You want to subscribe to Xirtus, and you will. You will
You
like
will
and
like and
subscribe
you will
and share.
subscribe and
You
share.
will tell your friends.
Tell
Your
friends.
friends about
You're telling
Xirtus.
them about them right now.
Your friends will come to like Xirtus, much as you are liking this right now, as we speak.
As we speak.
Thank you for subscribing to Xirtus. See, that was easy.
And just like a little bit of a little love because Vincent's coming here.
Canada is a country. Waves of people came to this country, were welcomed by the folks who've lived here for millennia, the First Nation.
It's all of that at once. And then yeah, Vincent's getting his camera going. So how about the new MIDI song?
Do it.
I like that one a lot. That one's it's a fun track. And how you doing, Frank? What's up, bro?
Wait, no work.
Are you frozen? Is it working? Way to start the morning. This is like supposed to be the early birds.
Oh, I'm sorry,
and I think
you said how you doing? I'm doing.
Oh yeah, there's like a delay. Well, that's okay. You do good. Point is, birds aren't real. What's up,
Okay.
Vincent?
I'll try to be conscious. Yeah.
Conscious of birds not being real.
Going well this morning.
Wow, this is amazing. I feel like half of the world is already going to bed, but we're like, okay, let's get this going. Let's get this stream to actually happen. And our machines even, they're just like, all right, let's get the machines going. They like start to run. Early birds
Our
aren't real.
machines are sleepy.
It's true, dude.
No.
I've seen the pigeon
How
blueprints.
you been? So, Vincent, have you met Frank? Vincent?
I
Frank
don't
Zero?
believe so. Hello, Frank. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Vincent's
How are
from
you?
Canada.
Same.
And
Cool.
Frank is
You're cutting off.
I'm in the
bro.
bayou. Uh-oh. The lights are gonna help.
all right, cool. All right, my microphone cable. I gotta get a new cable. See, I'm telling you, like all the electronics, it's just like I'm tired. So, yeah, it's like 11:40 p.m. where Mongoose. Good for you. And it's not even like early. It's like 9:40 here. It's not like 6 a.m. Look how bright it is outside. It's ridiculous.
It's 12:40 here, and I just woke up. So
yeah, but you're based. You know what I mean? You have a based lifestyle. You have to take care. You have to take care of vampires. Like he works at one of those restaurants where it says like with a little silver embossed plaque, "There's no garlic served in any of the courses." It's like he tries to take care of like the rich Canadians. You know what I mean?
yeah, of course. Definitely a few vampires, and I have been trying to push for garlic bread on the menu, but I don't want it. So,
dude, Frank, you were just telling me about so many things, and I don't know. I was like, I kept trying to cut you off. It's like, no, say it later. But like, we were gonna talk about like X-Men or something. Oh God, I'm sorry. AI art with X-Men.
I'm bad at that. Yeah, I was saying that Maynard from Tool, who is a black belt, is now or has been since the beginning of the training camp, training Mike Tyson to fight the other fool. I'm rooting for Tyson. But before
that's the wildest thing I've ever heard. So the guy from
talking
Tool,
about
Maynard...
X-Men 97, which premieres tomorrow.
Wait, so I gotta let me just like emotionally process.
He's always been a jiu-jitsu guy.
Dude, but he's training Mike Tyson,
Sure.
so it's like, so who's the
Yeah.
greatest? I feel like Mike Tyson's kind of our, like, I don't know, he's kind of like a Muhammad Ali of our time. Is that too naive? I feel like he's important, and then
He's a separate person.
He's one of the
entirely.
greatest. Right, he's one of
Yeah.
the greatest heavyweights ever, one of the greatest knockout kings. He had some bad periods, but overall he's one of the best warriors we know in modern
For sure.
times. Now you could make the same argument for Maynard, but that's a psycho-spiritual warrior. Now he was trained at West Point. He has a military as well as a fine martial arts background, and has been doing BJJ for over a decade, hence the black belt and his own studio and things like that. So Maynard is so very multifaceted. All the members of Tool are like 6 people we looked up to centuries ago. I mean, they're all out.
Old souls.
But I just can't imagine. I didn't know that the dude was training Mike Tyson to be
Like alchemical artist, martial
Yeah.
arts,
But I mean, he's
school
training.
sort of influence.
dude. And if he's trying to take out Logan, is it Logan Paul? I forget which one it is.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they're doing
correct.
a boxing match, so he doesn't need to train BJJ.
no,
He's
but
probably
maybe he
training-
does for alchemical purposes, like Frank is saying here.
Sure, probably.
They're doing
Because like,
boxing
what power
now?
does Logan?
Are
I
you
assume
sure about
Logan
that?
Paul. I thought that's
I'm pretty sure it's boxing. There's no reason why Mike Tyson would fight an MMA fight against Jake Paul. But it's gotta
Okay,
be
see, I
boxing.
didn't know if they were opening it to MMA, and so Tyson
Like,
just wanted
I mean,
to be well-rounded.
All
with
fighters,
the
they could take that. They
jiu-jitsu.
take Mike Tyson.
Wait, all fighters what?
The way it's set up is it's after the official ranking systems, like all the commissions go away, and then it's just Tyson versus Paul, like no actual rules, basically.
Oh, dude,
Gotcha.
look, it's a
Right.
it's a boxing match, but
But it is boxing.
5 memberships from
Oh, okay.
Jeremy Fawcett, so we gotta do the thing.
Maybe he just wants the jiu-jitsu to be more well-rounded altogether. I don't know why you'd go against Tyson with just boxing and expect to win regardless.
It's probably rigged. I mean, you know, Tyson is willing to play along.
The ego you managed to possess. But yeah. Money
Thank you,
involved
thank
for
you,
it not to
Jeremy.
be rigged, but then I like to face the history of humanity.
Grab those 5 gifts while you can. Anybody who's
So-
awake right now, here's a chance to get 5 memberships.
The history of the world is rigged, though.
That's true, but
Yeah, no,
so
I
that's
got
the new-
that.
Tartarian.
That's a new Marvel timeline thing. We'll get that to the side. But Jim is just joined us. Jim, good to see you. How are you?
I'm here at your beck and call, sir. I just did a card jam. I pull tarot cards and do
Word.
astrology every morning. I just finished that, and you're like, oh, cool. Come
Oh
on.
dear. So
Yeah, the
like,
other
it's a
thing I
little
was
late then
mentioning
to
was
ask
just that
you to do more tarot, I guess. Do you want to do a quick? I want to have him do a set if he's down.
Talk
but
amongst
if you're tired
yourselves.
to do a set.
I'm
Why don't
not
you
tired.
set up a set to do a set while Frank continues? Okay.
I thought I knew his voice. Frank, what up? It's like, I know the voice. I don't know the face as well.
Dude, you got to know the face because of the hair. Like Frank's hair is the. Is part
Hey
of the
man,
hair.
what's up?
This is Zappa kind of Frank
No worries,
Zappa's
Frank,
hair.
But I'm sorry, Frank. You were about to talk about, I think, history controlled, manipulated. Something like
Yeah.
that?
Wait, history what?
Well,
History
I don't
what,
know,
buddy? I'm
dude.
sorry.
I thought you said manipulated history, but it
Oh,
could be
I was just-
that's what you were.
Last moments of Pisces season are about as
Oh, that was the other
slippery as possible here. Clear.
homie.
You're getting some
Frank-
glitches again.
Yeah, I was like,
But,
Frank, buy good internet.
I was just-
Jesus Christ.
I was just starting to explain. Maybe not.
Go to the library.
Hey, I got good internet, and I got every other app off, and I don't know what's going on. And the technology's asleep. Xirtus, back me up on that, sir.
The Emperor card.
There we go.
Maybe
That's
not.
blurry as
Everyone's
fuck.
gone.
No, not everyone's gone. We can talk about history. History is written by the Emperor. The Empire never fucking died, right? Philip K. Dick style.
Right.
I mean, geez, how do I turn off this blurring action?
You have camera settings.
Whatever.
Yeah,
this works.
precisely.
You can see it.
Yeah.
As above, so below. Oops, here we go. As above, so below. So, in a sense, there's probably a lot of archonic games going on, and we're witness to them. But we got to find our grounding. So whether you believe in mud floods or not, or global resets, or all of history's a lie, because for better or worse, all of history can't be a lie because we're functioning through it at some level. But I understand kind of what you mean, like the games we play. Anyway, I'm done.
A lot of people live in lies, right?
Who doesn't? Self-delusion is the one hell of a drug. Last moments of Pisces season. It's like we think our dreams are real. Sometimes it's like, but then it turns into personal dreams versus like collective dreams, and I think that's in a weird way. Is it just me, or is his connection like Bobo?
Yeah, Frank, fix your internet. I miss you.
Well, I want to hear his contribution.
I know that's the reason I'm really into it.
We get 10 seconds and then it cuts off.
Not even that. We get a word. It's like it's a little like the Rosetta Stone. We're finding scraps. We're like, I think he has something powerful here. It says Thoth Hermes, Trismegistus or whatever.
Oh man, he's gonna try. Poor Frank. Frank does have like amazing stuff to say. We're supposed to talk about X-Men, so I'll hold it for a second. But Jim and also Vincent. Vincent, what have you been up to? What have you been doing, Vincent?
I bought a tablet, so I've been working on my comic book basically, and just the cycle, grind work and trying to.
That's based. Do you want to tell us? What can you disclose about your project?
I mean, I'm trying to create. I'm trying to contribute, I guess, to the mythological structure of our modern era, and like see if I can update the mythos, because currently our mythological representation is deteriorating. Like Superman, Spider-Man, like all these things, they're falling into multiplicity, and as well
postmodernism stuffs, right?
Meaninglessness, because they're basically going like anyone can be anything. So Superman is literally like every person. Spider-Man is literally every person. There's like a representation for every single one, and that's okay. It's the function currently in the process, but it kind of showing that Marvel and DC are stagnating to a degree, and that we should update these stories to, I guess, get a more complete mythological structure. I mean, they did a good job, but like it seems to require infinite universes to make it work, and there's a problem with that to a degree.
So what's the problem with that? Because it's like, how if I want to have a black teenager girl Spider-Man, and I don't want to upset like the Ku Klux Klan and the Midwestern Spider-Man fans.
They're already upset. You can't not upset them.
Don't pander.
But why not? But the thing is, then the KKK can have their own, like, I don't know, who's the Captain America? Right?
By all means, do it. By all means, everyone should and will have their own whatever. Like whether
so that's the multiverse. There it is.
Yeah. It's fine, but at some point it's going to collapse. You can't have infinite everything, because the story of our civilization is decentralized. We don't have a uniting thing under us.
The Emperor card, I'm telling you, he's talking about the Emperor energy. It's like, we need some boundaries here. We need some rule of law, Hammurabi code. Which end is up? What's North mean?
It's just that we need a really, really good story, or else we don't have the mythological basis to uplift ourselves collectively. Like Superman.
You know about Warhammer 40K?
Warhammer 40K is the worst potential future possible.
Nobody's asking for that future.
It kind of feels like
there are people. There are worshippers of Nurgle who want the future of Warhammer.
Kurt looks like he's in Spaceballs right now in the spaceship, which is a really like a positive future if you think about it. Spaceballs is one that you can really work with. But like, why is Warhammer 40K such a horrible future? I'm a techno priest.
No, it's a horrible future.
It's the
real future that's also our present timeline, because
look, that's true for all stories, but
no, because Warhammer 40K wins out because it goes all the way to the both ends of the timeline.
All stories are a reflection of reality. I mean,
fine, Gondahar is better, but
the reason Warhammer 40K is a problem. It's not a problem, but it's the worst future because it's.
Please say problematic.
It's space fascism that requires that requires perpetual space fascism to fight all evil. If you stop being space fascist, evil wins. That's the story.
Yeah, exactly. Like Star Trek or anything else. Space fascism, collectivism. You know,
his name is
don't run away, Kurt. It's okay.
Because look, here's the point: the irony, I guess, because it holds the tension. What you're having issue with is postmodern relativism is a problem. We need some concurrent definitions, and the irony, I guess, shows where it's like what the primordial truth of chaos is this weird thing, right? In 40K, and then you have this ideal in the Emperor of mankind. I pulled the Emperor card, no doubt, showing you basically the virtues of a linguistic patriarchal kind of idea, and it goes as far as fascism because that's the trope can get played out that hard, just like America can be about freedom, but then we can also be pretty tyrannical. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, the only reason I brought it up is that
there is no freedom. But there is no freedom in Warhammer. That's the thing.
Can someone give a 10-second summary of 40K? I am not familiar, just Jacob.
No,
10 seconds? No. It's all fantasy together.
Why can't you summarize 40,000 years of history in 10 seconds?
It's like you have Tolkien in the past, and then you have every sci-fi in the future. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the ultimate evolution of all humanity and civilization and technology and organic and mecha all evolve into the final form with control of time travel, therefore also controlling the beginning of time, because they get to the end of time, they can go all the way back to the beginning of time, and they beat out in the space-time wars as well. Yeah,
there's a lot to it, but in a sense, like Marvel is dipping into this direction, and I think is his name Victor? I don't see people's names on here. Vincent. I know begin with a V. St. Vincent. All right. So
what happened to my names? Where'd they go?
Je ne sais pas. I might not be on the right viewfinder here, but we're at this weird crux. It's at the end of Pisces season right now. I mean, we're about to enter into that archetypal fucking. There's a reason animals bang out and fucking plants sprout in the spring. There's like this Vive, this life force pushing through, right? Whether we give it a name or not doesn't really matter. But your discontent with the archetypal landscape is palpable for all, because we're all. I mean, I just saw an ad the other day for Disney or some Marvel thing that came out, and I was like, this looks so fucking bobo. This looks like watered down. Like Infinity War, that stuff was like the high water mark, right? Anyway, we don't have to trope on that shit hard, but point is, the stories we're going to have to tell ourselves are going to be different, but that means that we have to come to some real conclusions, and that's essentially the eternal recurrence, right? Where it's like, look, polarization, disillusion coming together, all this. I mean, we're at this point where it's like, all is, I mean, clearly, Age of Aquarius, all is one. Oh my gosh, look, namaste. Like, we all kind of get this thing where it's like democracy, civil rights, economic validity, all this kind of stuff. We all want this shit, but now we're all like, hey, an apple is not an orange, is not a fucking cheetah, is not the Statue of Liberty. Not everything is everything. Yep. And yet, simultaneously, all matter is fucking vibration, blah, blah, blah. So we're in this weird place where it's like, how do we reinvent the wheel while knowing that we can't get off the wheel kind of thing? Nothing like a worm baby.
Honestly,
Gondahar?
Telling new stories is usually like that's
like American Gods touches on this. If you're in American Gods,
yeah, I'm familiar. Neil Gaiman's my boy. So
yeah, Gondahar is the real one, because
that just looks like a utopian fetish of space from the 60s.
No, bro, this is the 70s.
Yeah, but it was conceptualized in the 60s.
All right, but they didn't get the movie out till like 1981.
Mobius.
The point is,
Mobius meets fucking Smurfs.
People take acid.
Yeah, right. Avatar. It's always about blue people. I think you can blame the Hindus, but this idea.
I blame psychedelics.
Dude, Gondahar is amazing. The whole idea.
Yeah, it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's great.
I mean,
I'm more of a Dark Crystal kind of guy, you know.
Yeah, but the future is
the Song of Thra. The Song of Thra. We're all in the Song of Thra. Right? But like, what are we in the right modes? Every mode is different.
Frank,
I guess
look, but you know,
the answer is.
My criticism of Warhammer is, I mean, it's just observation. It's not like I'm going like the story. It's not the story shouldn't exist.
What
you know,
what is the alternative to the space fascism that will procure a world sustainable? What alternative to fascism do you find sustainable?
It's a fallen angel story. First, anyway, it's not just about space fascism.
Look, my story, the story that I'm creating is multi-layer. So you have like upper dimensional, lower dimensional, and then internal. And so it's like it's sort of like an Alice in Wonderland, Silent Hill generator for individuals, and that'll be the goal of the, I guess, formatting into a video game. But ultimately, it's about the higher self, the worldly self, and then the.
JoJo's Excellent Adventure or whatever the fuck that is.
Of course I have. Of course, yes.
That's kind of the higher self, right? The
right. But I mean, it's about manifesting the angel into reality. So manifesting as your higher self into reality, but chaos in this story, like in Warhammer, like generates from basically the void from chaos itself. So it's potentiality manifesting order into chaos. Angels make order into chaos, and then this basically they dream our world into reality, and then an angel gets corrupted, and it's God basically having a neuroses. And so the entirety of human history is healing God's neuroses, and our role into that, because we're all subdivided from that source, kind of thing.
Actually, it's very true of psychoanalysis in a broad context. That's what we're doing. We're healing ourselves.
I'm
giving you gold.
I'm giving you a 10-second summary for like something that I could talk about for hours and hours and hours. So like this is really just the surface.
Well, one of the things about that's interesting to me, I mean, obviously, Frank, it looks like your internet's working better. We could mention X-Men is coming out like tomorrow, the new Deadpool versus Wolverine. And
Deadpool.
Bro, Deadpool is like I'm Deadpool.
He's a meta-modernist hero. So
I get it.
He's the antidote to post. Well, not the antidote. He's the thing that keeps postmodernism going currently.
No, he's the kid from that picture. Hold on, where's it at?
As if Bart Simpson and Superman had a child.
Dude, this is Deadpool. Come on, this girl right here is Deadpool. If you think about it, because Deadpool is the victim of this MK Ultra mind control program where they injected them with all kinds of crazy serums and drugs and stuff to make them into a super soldier because they're the child of some scientists working, and it's in Canada nonetheless. I think it's important.
Same for Wolverine, right? Like they're both.
Also, he's undeadable. He doesn't want to be alive, and he can't be dead. Like he keeps trying to die, he can't die. Like it's important.
So they've all been given.
When it comes to immortal characters, you have to see
John the Baptist. All right,
they're like the spirit of that thing. Like Wolverine is the spirit of the man from 100 years ago. He's what built this country. He's what is unkillable. He's that resolve that those men from back then have, and that's why the theme keeps being alcoholism, smoking like a chimney, womanizer, rage filled.
God bless British Columbia, right?
Hey, it has to exist though. It's a flavor.
But like the stories have pushed towards the direction of him dying, basically. But at that point, like, it's like trying to kill the Hulk. Like the archetype keeps coming back because it's still relevant and people still identify with it. It's still animalistic.
Really.
Same for the Hulk.
Because you're not going to get it in Wolverine, you're going to get it in Apocalypse. It's like, here's a mean dude.
Oh, his internet.
Whatever.
Oh, you're going to get it in Hulk first. Hulk is like the
smash things.
He's the rage
Every
guy.
time we get to the point where I'm going to be like, okay, now Frank, tell us all about X-Men, and then his internet dies. He'll be back.
His higher self is cock blocking him.
We can talk a bit about X-Men because X-Men is kind of like the beginnings of Warhammer 40K theology, if you think about it. This ideology of humans are starting to mutate. Humans are even choosing to mutate. Some humans are trying to prohibit mutation. Other humans are trying to control mutation.
Right. But that's where Warhammer... That's where Warhammer sort of fails because it doesn't allow for actual evolution. It goes evolution is chaos and will kill us all. If you mutate, you're an aberration and you must be cut off, basically. But like mutants, the entirety of X. But I mean, that's what they do. They go like, you're a mutant, you're gonna die. We're gonna take the psychers and try to like control them or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Kind of like in America, where like if you don't have passports, you're out, kind of thing.
It's like Weapon X. It's like Weapon X. They take the mutants, even if they're persecuting them. They take the mutants and then they turn them into weapons for them to basically use against other mutants.
It's like, not a parody, but it's like what's the word when it's like making fun of itself to the highest degree? It's just
satire.
Yeah, it's complete satire.
I mean, I'd say it has satirical elements
all the way. So
it definitely has satirical elements to it, but it's not only satire. Because I mean, like it's an allegory. It's allegorical, just like X-Men is allegorical.
Well,
X-Men's allegorical for gay people, right? Because like
it's not just for gay people. It's for all variations of
you got conversion therapy and like they're taking all these kids.
But it's about all it's paganism basically. It's about paganism. I mean, you have the Scarlet Witch for a reason. Yeah. I mean, it's about non-Christian non-Christian deviation that occurred
They
around
do-
the 1950s, 1960s.
They
The
do make that
love
point.
revolution of the 60s. It's all the kids that came out of the acid culture that were like,
Yeah, it's the
well,
age of Aquarius. writ large.
fuck the previous ideas, fuck the way that you were doing things. I can literally communicate with people through my brain using acid or whatever, and then all these kids created this amazing art and created these things that challenged the previous mythological structures and empowered themselves as a result. And you can see that. I mean, who knows? Like, I don't think that they were aware that they were making something exactly like this, but ultimately that's what it became. It's just about every single kid's diversion from the previous.
I think they knew it because Stan Lee talks about that idea that, you know, the Ubermensch, you've got these Ubermensch heroes, and then comic books introduced by maybe accident before him, but probably not if you go back, that American isms are making Ubermensch through technology. Oh man, Frank. Through technology, like they're getting chemical spills or whatever, or the Mercurian gods of the Freemasonry are giving Shazam and Captain Marvel these powers. Like, there's these things that make these specific people powerful, but there's more and more of them until eventually it becomes obvious. The logic is everyone's going to become a superhero. Everyone's going to become an Ubermensch. And what are we going to do when we evolve into that point? Yeah.
Sure.
You know, the
but
Golden
resurrect.
Yeah, so the 60s, it's like you introduce more and more superheroes until you say, like, you know, clearly there's a phenomenon going on here where a bunch of people are becoming superheroes, and X-Men represent until it becomes, what do you call it? X-Factor, right? X-Force. Because X-Persons, you know?
Excalibur.
Plus, the nature of the evolution of archetype, it's very like, you know, Roy G. Biv. Like, at first it's like red, green, blue or whatever, and then it's like we are going to. It already exists, but you expand upon it with nuance. So it's like, if you know, you see what I'm saying? Like, you're only going to have a few things at first. That's why the early kind of attempts at iterations to the public consciousness, in a sense, were like super insoluble archetypes. It's like Superman, the perfect dude, or, you know, whatever. At some point, you start being like, well, you know, especially because of the zeitgeist itself, post-Vietnam, post-psychedelics, and all this, we start going, maybe it's not so absolute and monolithic. Maybe there's nuance to these things. It doesn't mean the wheel doesn't exist, but it does mean there's a spectrum within the wheel. Instead of being like black, white, it's like it's a whole lot of gray dancing, and that's kind of what X-Men reflects. But we're getting to the point where it's like soupish to the point where there's no emperor, there's no definition. So it's hard, like, if everybody's just holding hands saying kumbaya and, you know, fuck. Like, I get your point with, like, I don't think Warhammer is trying. If somebody's looking at Warhammer as like a moral code for what to do, that's problematic. That is space fascism, but it's also showing kind of the degradation of intention systems. It's like order over chaos is good. The Emperor card, you know, we don't want to sleep in the jungle, get bit by snakes every night, so we build a fucking campsite. That's the Emperor card, right? But at some point, if all you do is go out and kill every snake and kill everything, you get the Borg, and it's like, that's the Emperor card gone too far. So then that has to dissolve in itself, and it's like this recurring Ouroboros fucking thing. So I just want to know where people think, or, you know, Vincent, where you think things are going in terms of, if we're fed up with Marvel, what does the next story mean? Are we really just like? I think it's incumbent upon basically the youth is here to kick off. That's why I mentioned the Golden Bow. It's like we're here to usurp the power structures and the models essentially that don't serve us for where we are, but we can't. We're standing on the shoulders of momentum anyway.
Well, currently,
there's no avoiding that.
Currently, what's going on is they're taking. Basically, it's people going, we want a revolution, but then the revolution has been assimilated into corporate culture. So they're just modifying. They're just modifying the existing stories, going, well, we know that you love the Matrix, but here's a more inclusive Matrix with more. Yeah. Like the enslavement is more inclusive. Now you're all brainwashed equally, and it doesn't really work. But the actual components of the stories being added, what they're a call to is higher cognitive function for all humans, where we're all more aware of cultural issues. We're all more
100th
aware.
Monkey stuff. At best, this leads to a 100th
Much.
Monkey thing where it's like,
but I mean,
the adult janitor knows
it's all going to come to a pain. They're all simulations that are trying to accumulate towards a pinnacle, and that pinnacle will be the alchemical essence of all stories that will basically help humans ascend, because stories are technology for us to actually emulate and grow. Like, I know that Warhammer is like, people who consume Warhammer and who create Warhammer, they're consuming it and creating it mostly unconsciously. They're not going like, I actually believe in this stuff, but plenty of them do believe in this stuff. Even if they're sarcastic about it or whatever, they're like, oh,
Don't worry about the culture of Warhammer.
You know, they'll spend
story with the culture.
They'll spend their time praising Nurgle or praising.
That's the culture.
Slamish
I think somebody said, "Don't."
No. But
judge
you
a
can
philosophy by its adherents. It's like, don't worry about the people saying praise Slanesh. It's like
no. You do have to worry about those people. You do have to worry about those people because the thing is that what you're doing is you're sophisticated about your approach to it, but that's because you're conscious and you're aware. But the people who consume unconsciously,
guys like
no, you can see it manifest in their emulations, in the way they treat others, and the way they treat themselves. Have you ever seen the apartment of a worshiper of Nurgle? Like it reflects in the way they. It reflects how they treat themselves. It reflects the status of their environment, of their relationships. Same for vampires.
A good example. Those guys right there. Those are the fucking, I forget their name now, but those guys are basically secretive knights, like Templar dudes. So people who have a high code ethic and want to basically be chivalrous and all that stuff, they're going to relate to that archetype. There's perfectionist archetypes. There's brutish, angry dudes who just want to be bellicose.
For sure.
But there's a Nurgle from Behemoth.
It's often in righteous fascism. So it's like,
if anybody wears only Wolverine shit and says, hey, bub, you want to fight every time they talk to somebody, they're also doing this. So I hope.
If a dude wears the banana yellow outfit though, and they say, hey, bub, want to fight? I don't know. The thing with Warhammer 40K is, again, it's Ubermensch. You're
for
saying
those guys to see,
if everyone got to go, it's like South Park. If you got to evolve to the most absurd conclusion. Correct. This is where you would get, and so you get to see that model. Like this is where it would go.
The way that I think.
Can you guys hear me?
For every 100,000 regular Warhammer fans, they are sacrificed to make one Henry Cavill. So it's like for every single one, you might have the distillation of all these archetypes. He is the emperor of Warhammer for Warhammer nerds. And like people, he took all the
like
right lessons. He took all the right lessons from it, and he embodies them. He tries to be social. He has a career. He works on his body. He takes care of himself. Well, a lot of them don't. So it's you have to have the balance that is
we don't
found.
have to make this all about a belaboring of the point of Warhammer 40K. I think it's like looking at like the Philadelphia Eagles fans and being like, my God, football's horrible. It's like that's not how to look at this.
No. But you can look at football as a whole and see its impact on culture. Warhammer is just one story of a hero with 1,000 faces. It's all archetypes, so it's all the same.
It will be interesting to see how Warhammer affects the broader audience when the movies come out because it will change.
Yeah, that will change. But what I find interesting is just I'm not bashing Warhammer. Like I said, the story exists for a reason. That's fine. It's just that, there's obvious.
Be careful. You should always be careful when you look at anything and how they're going to use it.
Don't consume blindly and don't emulate blindly.
Yeah, if they're going to make a $200 million movie about Warhammer, they're probably going to use it for the same reasons they use other $200 million movies.
The most inclusive fascism.
Fetishism.
So I was just going to try.
Right. So it's like if you like something, you can fetishize it, and then if you don't, like you can demonize it. So the point is, there's a flavor in that universe for everybody. It's like a Crayola crayon box. So it's like people tend to navigate. And here's the thing.
Yeah, all right. Everyone can have every version of Warhammer they want. All right, Frank, you were trying to say that.
Thank you, sir. I'm just trying to finish a thought before I phase out again for no reason. So somebody mentioned paganism. I think the paganism element is a lot more in Excalibur and some of the other British magicians who were writing the X books. I just wanted to finish the point that Wolverine and a bunch of other characters like Omega Red, Maverick and others are shown that like their most intimate moments with a woman or a wife or something, their childhood trauma where they were beaten over and over by their fathers saying they're useless because they're mutants. All these were actually on small movie sets in a kind of MK Ultra setting where they were just moved from station to station and given drugs and supplanted with these really terrible traumatic memories. And I think that's a part of the indulgence with Wolvie. Otherwise, I wanted to mention with the Warhammer thing, there's Nurgle, the leader of Behemoth, the band. And if you want to get kind of a style or a vibe or a feel for what that Nurgle energy is, it's very represented in black metal. But Nurgle himself is like the Maynard of that dark magic, if you ever get curious about that kind of stuff. But I think that paganism and the other elements, everything kind of fits somewhere in the X universe. You don't even have to go all the way out to Marvel, and you can get every single aspect of even the deep sub projects of MK Ultra and things like that, and how they're differently used on each mutant. For instance, there's an episode where Cyclops just goes where a bunch of orphans are living, and he realizes that every night they're clamped down with metal around their eyes, heads, hands, and feet, and shown this propaganda for the person who will be president when they wind up growing up. So just this sort of programming is totally different from the mental and emotional things that they put Wolverine, Maverick, Silver Fox, and people like that through. And then you have the Ubermensch with the absolute super soldier, the Omega Red, or someone like that. I'm sorry, guys. I was just trying to fit in everything from last thing I heard. Please continue.
That's exactly right. It's weird because all of these seem to be, as we come to the end of the Aeon, it seems that we can look and scry through any pop cultural reference, and the smarter the monkey, dare I say, the more you'll see. I don't want to correlate it exactly to capacity of mind, but it's like, Frank, you're speaking eloquently and highly upon that stuff. Somebody could look at it and go, man, that's just a bunch of boy stuff, kids beating each other up and being violent. It's like, no, it's way more nuanced than that. And I think that's kind of, at best, what large-scale culture is trying to do, where it's like this. I mean, I'm not about it. This tends to be, look, revolutionaries tend to get tired of the revolution when it becomes mainstream. So if you're like, man, everything's fucking passe now, it's like, it is. But at this point, my Nana can watch, The Gentleman or something, and grok the archetypes there. Or you see what I mean? It's like, it's basically a Golden Corral. Is that like the Arthurian feast we would hope? No, but like at least we're all eating archetypes well now.
I interviewed the writer of Weapon X Lies in Videotape because with animation, I didn't want the gray sync space where I'm trying to just get the symbol and move on to other symbols. I really wanted to know what the creators were trying to say. So the guy said, who's now my friend, David McDermott, he wrote so many kids' cartoons and is one of these writers that put occult and mind control themes in almost everything he worked on. And he very politely just explained he was looking into Kathy O'Brien and some of the other SRA trauma-based mind control cases and was trying to work that into the Wolverine mythos. But the books, the comics get even deeper. I have a Wildstorm Weapon X crossover where Wetworks and the people in Wildstorm comics who were really based off of a lot of the X-Men characters when Jim Lee and everybody split to form Image, and they have them working together, kind of discovering some of the stuff about their past. It's really interesting. Deathblow, Wolverine, that's the crossover. But you'll only find it in a random Larry Hama G.I. Joe comic or something out of thousands, where somebody actually goes a little further to explain this stuff. But I understand what you mean archetypally. It all means these different things. Just sometimes with the animation, I need to discern, because that's kind of my main thing. And I want to know if the writer will tell me why 100 out of 112 episodes written are about reptilians, why they're all going underground bases, why they're trying to use the World Trade Center or whatever to manipulate some transdimensional doorway. And then how can that just be hopped over and ignored when there's another 12 writers in the same decade doing the exact same, either overwhelming NASA as a black satanic cult or overwhelming like Conan the Barbarian, the cartoon series. Every episode is about shape-shifting reptilians. Some are about these cosmic tools and ancient things that give them power. Some are about drawing the reptilians from their dimension into ours. Some are about, just some random adventure Conan takes. And there's a few that don't relate to those themes. But it felt to me like David Icke sat down with the writer and went, how can we push all of this so 8-year-olds have it in the back of their mind, not on one show, on 12, 6 comic books and 3 movies and Ninja Turtles and
honestly, I think it's unconscious. I think they do it
zeitgeist stuff
automatically,
like Jack Kirby. A lot of it is.
Yes, but it's like the whole map is there. You can see the entire mapping, and then it's all done unconsciously. We have to later on be like, wow, like we can actually see the entire mapping of our psyche.
Philip K. Dick had a lot of that mapping. I'm sorry, man. And he had a lot of those ideas. But Philip K. Dick, like Jack Kirby, would write, and wind up channeling huge things he didn't mean to unconsciously, while he consciously knows in the next few decades he wants to introduce the idea of reality being a matrix and all these other things. So he has these certain points and these things he's read about and these things he consciously wants us to get clues on. And then, like Jack Kirby, every 6 pages, because he's just writing, it's essentially channeling or scrying, as you guys were saying earlier. You know what I'm saying? So it's a combination of that conscious, trying to put the symbols in there, and then these huge themes they may have never realized they were promoting until after they were dead. I'm sorry, man, go.
Nothing. I just keep thinking about Grant Morrison. I just wish Grant Morrison
crazy
was more.
good.
I wish he was more relevant in like the writing of like the MCU movies and all these things. Like
he's in the X-Men coming out tomorrow. They're using Grant Morrison scripts as well as the Luald.
I'm not surprised. That's the best thing that they could do. Use Grant Morrison, use Neil Gaiman, use Alan Moore. Like you have so much good.
Magicians. Yeah.
You have so much potential good for amazing stories there, and then they butcher them or they change them or.
I was talking to Andreas about the 3 mages. You know, you have Alan Moore, you have Grant Morrison, you have Warren Ellis. The only difference, besides that they're all from Britain or Scotland, they're all deeply into comics. Neil Gaiman as well, but these 3 almost collaborate or almost copy or emulate each other, but have worked on such vast things. Where Warren Ellis you can find in an X book, a Batman, Grant Morrison, same, Alan Moore, same. Neil Gaiman really sticks to his own mythology and world.
He's like and the bigger meta world structure. Like he
that's all fine and good, but I think there really needs to be attention.
Magic Society. They're like grandfathered into the Royal Magic Society, and he kind of like I think earned himself in. It seems like.
Yeah. Warren Ellis has this techno bent to him, so he's always been interested in like the future and what's going to happen with robots and AI and all these things. Whereas Grant Morrison and Alan Moore may include this in a larger title that may already be about those things or whatever. But we certainly have to take note that more interesting than any other author, these 3 guys have been through all the books that are very familiar with us and written hundreds of independent tales. Probably the few of us haven't even had time to cover all of, where I noticed this, just wonderful gold in all of their stuff, really. And I'm happy that it could be more adapted to the screen, but so far we haven't seen more adapted, in a genuine way. We see Morrison, many different projects kind of worked out. We see things that could have been great, like Global Frequency from Warren Ellis, never quite cut it, and they never quite finished the show and stuff like that. So I'd like these things to be larger influences, or at least people within comics to be like, okay, maybe Johnny the Homicidal Maniac isn't the end of comic book mythology. Maybe there's really deep, interesting things here. I just use Johnny because hundreds of people throughout my life have been like, have you been into comics? And they, have you ever heard of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac? Yeah, I'm familiar. That's the greatest comic that's ever, okay, well, it inspired me to, throw spitballs at my sister.
It's not as good as The Tick,
Yeah. No, fair. Yeah, directly, yeah.
Let's get into the feedback loop of just like, art beginning, life is art, is life is art. And it's like, it feels like we have to bootstrap ourselves. And, Einstein is saying you can't just come out of something, like a punctuation event has to come from a petri dish that is ready for it, if you want to put it that way. So sure. I think in some way that's what the storytelling device actually allows us. With the last moments of Pisces season, we might be in Aries season now. But like the dream is being embodied by humanity, but that dream has everything from the most nightmarish craziness. I don't know Johnny the homicidal thing, but that sounds pretty fascist or crazy or whatever.
It's awful.
It goes from the darkest dark to the lightest light, right? Where it's like, just sit and say, "Oh,
Johnny's a good boy, but his walls covered in blood, and he has to like feed it people."
But the darkest dark was the Crow.
What?
The darkest dark was the Max. We don't need new superficial funny dark.
But we will.
We
don't need it, but we will get it. So.
It depends.
Yeah, definitely.
Hellraiser will always be there.
Okay, but you've got your American detective comics, you get your cool action comics. You lead into from military comics into a love of chemical enhanced peoples.
Right. Well, it started with Superman, right?
Well. Superman's different. Superman's always unique because Superman is
from him emerged all other superheroes.
Superman is the ideal mensch. He's kind of like this. He's
the idea better than the nuke.
He's Spider-Man would be
the nuke.
Loud rat.
It's like Emmanuel. Like Superman is the messianic Shabbat. He's a rabbi.
He's the sun god.
He's Rabbi Schneerson, like essentially. Like if you think about it, back then, Jewish kids in New York, they used to have like, and they still do, comic book and trading cards of their rabbis, you know, and the coolest rabbis. And like, which rabbi do you have? And here you have, instead of a blonde, blue-eyed German hero, you have this black-haired Hasidic superhero.
The impulse remains.
Yeah, so it's an important character, and the way he disguises is he puts on, of course, this is the Kill Bill thing. He puts on the glasses to look like average people, right? So it's a different thing. Whereas in the 60s, you have the emergence again, like X-Men, everyone becomes Superman. Until you get to like Rob Liefeld in like the 90s, you get the 80s, 90s Image Comics, where every issue, it's just like you can't even keep up with. Everyone you meet is a super person,
unique,
and like
individual.
Yeah, and you can't even remember. Like, oh yeah, I can't even remember that guy. Like, 'cause there's a guy like a few years ago.
And then you get to Deadpool eventually, where it's so absurd that like every hero is kind of just like a ironic trope. Like I don't hate Deadpool, but like it's like goofy.
It kind of feels like Deadpool is the mirror to Joker. Like where people I meet who identify really with Joker tend to really identify with Deadpool too, and they're like two sides of like a morality coin. Where Deadpool, he's like neutral chaos or chaotic good, and then you have Joker who's chaotic evil. But like the two.
But Deadpool's always been meta, whereas Joker is so dedicated to the lie.
Yeah, but Joker is meta madness. He's
become more meta through Deadpool.
Over the years, Joker has evolved into like this multi-dimensional evil of like madness.
Dark trickster.
Like Deadpool started that
with the Metalverse, like and like the Dark Multiverse, the Joker who laughs. Like it's all. I mean, that's the mapping of the full madness of Joker across the multiverse. While Deadpool in all of them is like, hey, I'm Deadpool, but a girl or a baby or a donkey or, you know, and he's like, he's the actually funny joke while Joker is the sickening joke, you know?
Right. Yeah, surely. Yeah, so I wanted to mention that at the very beginning of comics.
People would rather be actually funny rather than the Joker if they have
I also think there's an exploration there. There's an exploration there after Silver Surfer, because Silver Surfer talks about a character who is altruistic, but then his mind is erased, right? And so there's an interest to explore that character. Silver Surfer can't be explored the same way as Deadpool. Deadpool's created in order to explore, you know, if you've lost every reason to live and you can't die, which again is like John of Patmos. Like there's like a biblical scenario for an apostle that can't die, and it's just, you know, they're become evil over it in some circumstances. So I mean, it's an ancient trope. I think it's one that people want to explore.
I just wanted to add that in the very beginning of comics, when we're talking about Superman, we also have these weird archetypes that emerge around him as the first real heroes we don't recognize today. So Namor and Human Torch, these like very elemental based characters or whatever, and this starts to congregate around World War II, and then we're given an Aryan ideal to believe in as absolute American energy forever in Captain America, another guy who it's really not like the Jews' tales of these superheroes. It's a guy who's like a weakling American who's very dedicated to his country, but then he becomes the Nazi ideal. And his whole purpose is to fight the Nazis. Much more confusing than Superman and Alien.
But who just wants. That's like you know, Americans using Nazis to make NASA kind of thing. It's like using the evil to fight evil kind of thing.
Well, the super soldier formula was Nazi. So we're looking at something that's directly, hey, let's use a little of that Nazi stuff in the rocket program, intelligence.
I'm pretty sure in the movie it was made by a German Jew, though. So it's like
okay. I had no idea.
Mistaken. Like it was a German Jew who was like, well, I'm not gonna like let Nazis ruin my country, therefore we're gonna make an Aryan basically.
Right, but in the comic book, isn't it? It's similarly that he's like a 4F small guy who's not very strong. And again, you have a lot of these kinds of people writing comic books. If you're not working as hard because you're not as big, you know, and like this back then is a lot harder probably to do like manual labor without certain kinds of tools or something like that. Maybe you're more likely to do art. So there's like a reflection there, looking at how am I supposed to become this super deity and it's all better living through chemistry. Like that's the beginning of
Using the
Right.
Nazis. It's always let me take something from the Nazis, even though I'm going to
Well,
be fighting
I
them
think
or
it's-
them or
I
whatever.
think it's a little. It's a
But
little.
not
better.
always. It's not
No,
always.
it's actually the opposite.
No,
They're
it's
saying, like,
literally
they're
a
not-
Nazi formula that changes him into Captain America. This isn't something we came up with.
Like
This
Rome
is-
did it first, though. They're like, you want to be a centurion? Come join the army. We'll make you kick ass and take names, and you'll be respected.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Join
that.
the
I'm just
Empire
talking about
and-
like the way we stole rocket programs and the way we stole
Yeah.
intelligence
It
throughout
was a
the
good
Cold
idea.
War.
Modern-
And the way we
But-
the goddamn TV was used on missiles before we had TVs in our homes by the Nazis. There's so many things that we happily adapted and then said, "Oh, that was all a Project Paperclip. That was just a couple hundred guys we needed for the rocket." There's hundreds of thousands of people set up in states and countries across the world to make the Fourth Reich a reality. But we were still saying, well, we just need a little bit of Nazi something to get where we're going.
Eye for an eye.
Yeah, the antidote's in the poison. Sometimes it's unfortunate. It's you know what I mean. It's like, hey, I mean, you know, it's tricky because I'm not a sympathizer of the Third Reich, but it's like they were other than their
I am.
Weird, bro. Crazy.
Yeah.
Dude.
No, you
I
gotta
know,
clarify. You gotta
Yeah,
clarify.
I do. I have to preface.
I don't care who I offend here on this panel when I say I'm not a Nazi
No,
sympathizer.
like their
Yeah.
ethos in the Big Lebowski's like at least they had an ethos.
Fucking
Nihilism,
Nazis.
man. Like they had a lot of. There was a reason. How would I put it? If one takes a step back and you look at a Darwinian evolutionary paradigm, they were kicking ass and taking names in the New Rome. They were clearly Russia too, to a point with their space program and all this stuff. Like there was stuff going on, and we said we want that, and we want it our way, and we tried to. I guess this gets into conspiracies. We tried not to adopt the kind of tyrannical fascist approach. We kept that under the hood more.
I don't know. We
We-
were so fat. We're
we
like
just
We
re-
attempted to.
It's
We're way-
rebranding.
we're way fascier. Let's be honest. So like
It just-
during the war,
Look,
no,
we-
during World War II, what we did was they demanded corporations like, look, we're in a war now, and you're gonna be making
Elvis,
parts for
go
our
to the front
tanks.
lines.
And they're like, dude, I don't want to make parts for your tank. I make paint for like tractors. You're making parts for our tanks. That's what
It's
we're
your
using your
duty
factories
as an
for. It's your
American.
duty.
Yeah.
Isn't that like centralization of planning? Shut up. Well, what about like fascism? Shut up. And then so now you've got this one country where you know there's a democratically elected leader. Now, granted, he's a dictator, but I'm talking about Germany here. Like the only country where the democratically elected leader happened. Everywhere else, you got oligarchical control or monarchy. Like Britain is straight up a monarchy that owns people, and then you
They
have the
just took the
Soviet
scapegoating
Union.
too far. That's
So
the issue with the Third
It's
Reich.
just convoluted, is all I'm saying.
Like
Right,
Hugo
but-
Boss is
Yeah.
stylish. That's
The
cool
thing is,
looking
but that's the
outfit.
thing. We have it's because we have an idea of what Nazis or what fascism looks like. There's an aesthetic to fascism that we've associated with the past fascists. But
This
the
is
thing is,
America.
new
That's
fascism.
fascist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain America is a
But the thing is,
fascism.
there's fascism originally is like etymologically means just like a bundle of sticks. It means a group of people gathering together for a political movement, and then people did horrible things with them, and they go, well, all fascism is people doing horrible things as a bundle. And so like around the 1950s they were trying to define fascism, and they're like, well, we see a bunch of communists acting fascistically. They go, no, they're not Nazis, therefore we can't call them fascists. It's like, okay, but they're fascist because they're a bundle of
bundling.
politically
Communally.
charged people trying to stop other political bundles. Like it's all fascism. But then they go, no, my authoritarian, totalitarian control of you, everything you do isn't fascism, therefore it's okay. And they go, well, it's just a branding issue, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds crazy because it's a humanistic, compassionate thing I'm trying to allude to here. So it's not so much a political statement. It's more like there were people who believed in their country, and it doesn't matter if you were Russia or Germany or Japan or any of the things they felt about how Trump feels about America. They're like, we want to make ourselves great again, basically. Right.
Sure.
So
But on the flip side, you have the other
we
people
demonize
that are
Mexicans, I guess.
But I mean,
They
you have
demonize
on the
you.
other side, everyone wants the country to be their way, and they're willing to riot, they're willing to dox, they're willing to, slander, and they're willing to literally ruin people's lives to get it.
Because
They're
the
willing
other
to go
side
to
are the other side are basically bugs, right? That's-
2001:
But
Space
that's
Odyssey.
every
It's like, I got the fucking bone. I'm gonna smash you.
It's like I was looking on a meme website, and I was seeing propaganda for Ukraine-Russia war, and they were going like, Russians are literal zombies, like they're literal actual zombies. It's like, and you can't get more propaganda than that. You can't dehumanize more.
Dehumanizing, Jinx.
So, and it's just and then you pointed out that you go like, hey, that's what the Nazis did with the Jews, and then they go, no, this time they deserve it. It's like every time the justification
regression of that bullshit.
It's justified. Yeah. It's justified.
And now we have the idea of NPCs, people that perceive many other people as just not home or not even worthwhile, and how easily can that be changed into the other? You know,
that's the new version.
It's like going into Fallout. You know, like the people are willing to go and kill an entire town. Okay, well, what if they start seeing everyone like NPCs? Eventually, someone's just gonna be like, "Well, it doesn't really matter. They're NPCs. I can go and justify my massacre or whatever."
You guys have all seen Interstellar?
No.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I think
It's a good film. Yeah, it's the time travel
Might have
black hole
fallen
thing.
asleep.
Long story short, there's a guy who represents the best of us, Dr. Man. Hey, he's got a name, Dr. Mankind, humanity, whatever you want to call it. He gets put in this place. He ends up, I don't need to give too many things, but basically he ends up sabotaging and killing a dude. And then he starts justifying it and basically gaslighting and being like, I'm doing you a favor here or whatever. And in a sense, that's the dark side of progress, because we tend to be like, the past sucks. How do I move forward? I have to differentiate and individuate. And that means not being you, right? So I don't know why I'm bringing that up. It came out, I watched it the other night with my girl, and she had never seen it. And it's just heavy shit. Rewatch that movie sometime, and it's got a lot going on archetypally. In any event, I don't know where y'all want to go with. I just realized you guys are way more into X-Men than I realized.
I'm gonna pull a picture of Kurt for a second.
X-Men.
Yeah, that's a lifelong thing
like
for
Professor
me.
X.
X-Men got me into art, got me into comics, got me into X-Men and Tool. Basically, each took 15 years out of my life to try to understand what the hell they were about and what they were doing.
Do you like X-Men?
I never got more. I mean, I was a big fan of Deadpool, not really into like X-Men.
Why Deadpool? I just want to know psychologically here.
Deadpool. I like the humor of Deadpool, but I also think it's like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I would have to think. I could come up with the words, I guess, but like, it's not like. I would say it's like Deadpool is one of those things where like you would think like our society wants the character to be like nihilistic, but he's actually like existential. He's like the opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what he becomes.
He's oddist. He's absurdist.
That's it. He's an absurdist in the face of immense suffering, because he's perpetual suffering. I think people relate to him that much because we all suffer so much, and we have to laugh at it. We have to laugh at it. If we don't, we become Joker, basically.
There's pure slapstick relief in Deadpool. So he's constantly meta. He's always been connecting to other universes in ways way before comics sort of did that regularly. And then he's always got this sort of slapstick, like Kids in the Hall SNL, well, old SNL kind of vibes going on in between. So there's that relief. Which I think people think stereotypically, oh, all comics must be like fart jokes and then muscles fighting or whatever, you know. So I'm not too into that. But I've always been very into X-Force, and he's always been a super interesting character. And of course, the movies shot him up to a more culturally relevant archetype than another lost X-Men character. Like Magic. We were talking about paganism and things in X-Men. Magic, the character from Excalibur, and just how deep that's gone in the past couple of years as far as being this magician that's sort of like as powerful as Phoenix, if not more, and things like that. And they had that movie of Excalibur called, I don't know, it was just a bunch of kids in a mental asylum, but they attempted to make an Excalibur movie. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
It was very bad. New Mutants, but
There you are. Yeah, so New Mutants was...
They didn't call it Excalibur at all. It was just New Mutants.
No, I know. They initially had Magic in New Mutants, Wolfsbane, and some people like that, and then they would spread out into Excalibur, X-Factor, and X-Force as the comics would go on. But I think every team has a lot of interesting stuff going on. They're not just back plots to the X-Men's lives, you know?
Sure, but if you look at like...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It seems like, because he was in Deadpool, American Time Machine is into Deadpool, and I thought it was cool at first. I saw it in theater with my sister back in the day, and it was just so crass that I felt like weird watching it with her. It just, I don't know. To me, it was just like, this isn't the best thing. And I'm not going to hate on people, but it feels like we get the medicine we need in the reflection of the culture we surround ourselves with. So we are attracted to what we need at the time for our individuation. Hopefully we don't hover there forever. If you like Cartman, there's a reason you like Cartman, but that doesn't mean become Cartman and stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I mean, that's weird, but so in a sense, like, I just watched Eternity's Gate for the second time the other day. It's a good Van Gogh kind of biopic thing, and he, basically it's him arguing. Van Gogh, as he's pronounced, but Van Gogh is this like eccentric dreamer, kind of madman, wet dream thing, and then Gauguin is this primitivist kind of communist, like Capricornic empire card. He's like, fuck everybody, do this, and basically he's like, fuck all these dudes, they're stuck, all these impressionists are stuck painting gardens and their babies, fuck this. And then Van Gogh is like, be grateful for the paintings you like. And somewhere in the middle there, so it's like all these archetypes have to exist, all these comic books have to exist because we're so complex ourselves and we're telling ourselves stories through stories. So it's like, and I just find it fascinating that when people latch onto things, why? It's like, why? Like, I found Warhammer at the darkest point of my life. Like, I was in a nihilistic place, so it's not surprising that it resonated into my field.
I think with comic book characters, the point is just like if you're method acting various different characters for a film or something, if you can method act your way through a musician or a comic book character and then come out the other side ready to embrace other archetypes and try them on, all becoming
like
a
multi-personality disorder
character. It's very controlled. MPD. So like at the end of Invisibles, he said the future everyone will have MPD. It's a very systematic control over switching personalities, or what I like to say, kind of trying them on, like method acting. You can dress like it, talk like it, lose yourself in it, but as a mission to then move through that space and into other spaces where you're experiencing other archetypes, making you more whole at the end of the journey. In no way should someone go, I identify with Cartman so much. People are going to be comfortable with me being Cartman all the time. My friends and family now have to take on, they're living with Cartman. This is all far too much. It's like you could take a personal journey and learn and work with it, just like an actor working on a film for a few months, and then realize there will be a relief when you take that hat off, and now can embrace some opposite or more healing archetype compared to the one you were. I think people getting stuck is like the worst aspect of personality. I think people get really bored and annoyed.
But that has to happen too, right? That's part of the process. There.
Yeah.
So it's like people get stuck, and then we learn not to get stuck by watching them get stuck. So it's all an exchange, and maybe they'll get out of it eventually, or in another life or whatever. But that serves a balance, a function in the ecosystem as well. So
for sure.
That was the dark side of the Third Reich, right? They got stuck. They're like, we're the best, and you guys should be like us, or Rome, or whatever. It's like, what happens if you ossify an archetype? It tends to lead to entropy over time because all things do dissolve. And change or whatever.
In the new X-Men universe, the multiverse theory is that the way it's going to work is every universe has a hero. Wolverine's the hero of one universe.
We're all stars.
There's definitely multiple Flashes, multiple universes for multiple Wolverines, but there's at least a universe, like a prime universe for every person, where they are the superhero of that universe.
It's kind of like the old superhero movies from like the 2000 era, where they all lived in a bubble. Like Spider-Man movies didn't exist with X-Men, didn't exist.
Wakanda's over there.
They could have, but they were just like, no, they makes the story too convoluted.
And if they do interact with each other, that person's not as important in that universe. Like even if Batman's this rich old white guy, he's not quite as important as like the sassy young black girl who's the cat woman, or whatever bubble you're in, you're the hero. Like it could be Peter Parker, you're a freaking pizza delivery boy, and now you're Spider-Man, right? Like
what I find interesting is that, like this whole representation thing is so weird to me, because people like identify so deeply with a character like Goku across every ethnicity, and like it's ridiculous to me that like we need the multiverse of representation when you have characters that are so potent that like they can actually be representative of us all to a degree, and that is like that. I think Goku has done more for race relations than pretty much most woke efforts in the past 10 years.
I don't know. This Eurasian muscular token of ableism. What do you want from me? No,
he's a Chinese a culturally appropriated Chinese character turned into an alien. It's an ancient aliens version of Journey to the West, basically.
Yeah, he's probably a little Uyghur boy. He's a little Tartarian.
With a reptilian alien shape-shifting demon as God.
And his Hindu tail, it's like everything you'd ever want. Yeah, it's all of it. You're true. It's a good point. Yeah, so cultural appropriation might be the answer. Green people. Not everybody loves Dragon Ball Z.
I've never even watched
it. It looks like garbage to me, but I do really respect all the idea. Whole series, every comic, every iteration, every film looks like sweaty garbage to me.
That's fine.
But I still wanted to say
Pokemon,
that I really respect the whole thing with chi and the whole archetypal journey, meditating and working out in space or whatever, and the whole thing with the actual balls themselves, so to speak. I think that's all really interesting, and kids don't get a lot of that kind of stuff about meditation or focus or martial arts or whatever, purely from other sources. So I think Dragon Ball Z is great. I personally just cannot look at it. There's too many lines in your head, and you're sweating and screaming. And nothing else is going to happen except the other person sweating, screaming.
Have you guys seen
charging up versus charging up? Really charging up versus
it's not the perfect story, that's for sure. But
sorry.
Lensman on Laserdisc. This movie was freaking amazing, and this it has like some of the earliest special effects, and it's based on some sci-fi book I'd never heard of yet called like D.F. Jones' Lensman. Right? It's crazy. But they made some weird anime out of it, and the people who made it, because no one cared about it, because they're like, what? This isn't like our sci-fi book Lensman. Like, they had no audience for it. They ended up making Dragon Ball Z at some point later. And I think Master Roshi shows up.
Dr. Xirtus, if you get a chance, just show any bit of Ulysses 31. Have you guys heard of this?
Never heard.
It's like this.
Look at all the sci-fi techno stuff in this. This is a crazy movie.
Psycho-spiritual, psychedelic kind of. I really like the Johnny Quest VR look of the anime you were just playing. But Ulysses is something, we could watch and do 5 shows on or whatever. But if you just look at any part of it, we got our Christ archetype with our Star Wars
full Mormonism in space. I am in.
Oh, yeah.
This is unbelievable.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Dude, it's amazing. I could come up with like 5 other shows like this, but let's focus on this. This one's really bizarre.
What is the deal with tell us about Ulysses 31, man. What the heck? This looks great.
It's one of those.
I love these 70s shows where like the rocket ships like come together. Like a big part of the show is like, and now the spaceship connects to the other spaceship.
The Megazord.
This is like one of my
concept.
Assembly.
This is so realistic because that's what
it's assembly porn.
It's a symbol about working together.
I love assembly porn. That is true. I'm a fan.
We gotta realize at some point we started. I mean, really, the seeds are planted at some point in the 50s. But like most people are like, I just want to farm potatoes or be Miss America or whatever. Like the ideals were different, and then we started being like, we can engineer, we can build things, we can take the Solway and Coagula, and I think that's like a weird way to show kids Solway and Coagula.
Like, Dr. Xirtus, Galaxy Rangers would be another one that just a few seconds we'd all probably find something to say.
All right, hold on, let me pull it up.
If you want to entertain such.
So Galaxy Rangers,
I feel like I'm at the back of the fucking school bus of like the autistic bus, but I found the coolest kids there. It's like, you guys love all the craziest shit. What the
heck?
Dude, this looks pretty great. Yeah. Look at that.
If everyone could just drop a recommendation of like something obscure or something, high quality from the animation point of view.
Please do. Look at this.
Watch the pentagram.
Downward pointed pentagram, just like Gem in the hologram. Oh, that's so good.
Under the Phoenix light. They're going to show the Phoenix character in a second. She's Jean Grey with a laser and psychic powers. All the red-headed whores of Babylon, no offense to all these ladies in these cartoons, have very similar powers and looks. And so the Gillian Anderson, the Scully, the Whore of Babylon, the Jean Grey, it goes on forever.
The Moorish Prince Hall scientist, all of it. Dude, this is great. I can't wait to watch Galaxy Rangers.
Both of these shows, Ulysses 31 and Galaxy Rangers, like, I think you can find a total of 6 episodes that are about sort of nothing and suck. But everything else is about like going to a planet and there's energy beings or something psychic, or they have to get some ancient, antique sort of item to power something for some other race of beings. Each one they meet like a different race or go to a different planet. Right at the beginning, explain like the actual intro says, given alien technology, the Galaxy Rangers were then able to travel the universe and blah 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 blah. They have to refill with gold on different planets or something Anunnaki sounding. I can't remember the exact words, but yeah, just the intro is rather loaded.
The group touched the black monolith, and then they had to find the spice forever. Basically,
they said the word Shazam.
This is crazy.
So
people.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of. There's a cartoon about a world in a matrix, and everyone's a zombie because they have a disease because they're not hooked up to the main like techno line or whatever the hell that keeps you alive. And it's called like Virtual Reality Fighters or something. I can't think of the actual
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's another one with a packed intro where it's just like, wait, what? Like there's so many ideas packed into it. It's not the laser tag show, but it's around that exact time. There's a giant weird Sky Surfer Strike Force?
That sounds
yeah,
great.
Sky Surfer Strike Force might be it. I'm sorry. Anyway.
It's like Jeopardy of obscure culture comics.
Seriously.
That's what I do.
Understood.
Thoughts on Time Lords, the Doctor, TARDIS? You'll find all the same archetypes in there that you'll find in these cartoons. Does anyone else want to go off on Doctor Who before I start rambling?
I haven't even watched but an episode or two.
Make him a robot. Make him a robot and becomes Terminator.
Yeah. I mean, Doctor Who is interesting because they change the avatar all the time. The idea of having,
Right. So Tom Baker's like one of the only ones you're going to want to watch until it gets to the 2000s. I just get annoyed with the guy with the yellow coat and the flowers and with the old guys or whatever. But all the episodes are still packed full of very interesting stuff. Of course, you've got your technocrat, the guy who created the Dialects, who's like half robot himself. He's in a wheelchair. But there's a episode called the Pyramids of Mars, which I would suggest anyone check out because it's very deep and has like this Egyptian black magician trying to invoke these mummy beings from, I don't know, another dimension or something. But then there's Pyramids on Mars in the exact fashion that Richard Hoagland laid out. You have to realize this is some 30 years before Hoagland gets on a stage for the first time.
The only episode I saw actually resonates with everything you guys are talking about is some like little black girl. This is a more recent one. It's a British girl. I was going to say African American, but that's not quite accurate. This little black chick who draws cartoons, whether it's crayons things, and then they become real or something and hurt people. Which is basically what we're talking about. Like all these comic books are sigils from people trying to process their reality and project it to new, better futures, and then they actually have effects.
Yeah, in the newer series, there's a great mini series where reptilians take over and they have propaganda posters like it's V or something, and they are manipulating everyone's mind. So it's kind of the thing where, if you're not manipulated, if you're not Agent Smith, they're going to notice you or whatever. And I can't remember the name of the series, but it was within the 2000s Doctor Who with a lot of these side characters you're talking about, like the black chick and one of the younger male characters aside the redhead who was on for like 12 years in a row. That's not going to help anyone find it. Never mind.
I'm actually going to dip and go do an astrology reading, but you guys are dope. Keep this shit up. Keep snuffing all the fucking, huffing all the glue fumes. Like, this is real shit. It's magic. Adios.
All right, go enjoy your 40K in tarot. Love you.
See you later, man.
Kurt, what do you think?
I just heard Jim yell from some lost dimension. Did anyone hear that?
I did.
As he was going out, he was like,
"Ah!" It's like Warhammer. Kurt, what do you think about all this? Doctor Who, time travel, space time, reality.
I never really watched Doctor Who, to be honest. I might be kind of the black sheep.
Boy, your name American Time Machine, and you ain't spent no time with a Doctor Who.
I know.
I just British Time Machine, it's British.
TARDIS. You know what? I'll send you like the top 2 episodes that are actually really interesting or something. See, you could try it on if you want. If not, who cares?
Did you guys want to talk more about X-Men? I got this AI picture of Rogue that's messed up.
Let's do it.
All right. Okay. So what do you want to say about X-Men?
Slightly distracted now.
Yeah, right. Fair enough.
Let's see. What more can we say about X-Men? There's always more to say. So the writer, creator, director of the 97 show, which is starting tomorrow, continuation of the show from the early 90s. The guy who wrote and directed and put it all together and was almost into season 3 was just fired by Marvel, and they're not really being clear about why. I just think that's kind of disappointing. I'm not too familiar with the fella myself. I've used magic as X-Men. Let me try to explain this. So in the same way we're talking about archetypes within the comic book characters, I would identify the archetype and the sort of powers and needs, weaknesses, and different things about a character, and then I would sort of use it as an inner magic world. Like this is a really stupid example, but I just want you to understand quickly. So let's say you get attacked by someone in the middle of the night, and you're unprepared, you're not a trained fighter, all these sort of things. You suddenly need to defend yourself. Well, you can invoke the idea of Wolverine's rage to just sort of take care of whatever you're doing physically or whatever. Like I said, the dumbest example. But then from there, say you need a change in the weather, or it'd be more pleasant if the weather would do this or that. Well, you can invoke Storm. If you need extreme intelligence, Beast. If you need sly sexiness, Gambit. If you need, the strength of air and strength of a strong female archetype who fights before the men even run over to where the fight is, that's Rogue. So I think there's a lot of strong archetypes for girls or boys or men or women to use as sort of an inner magical world, and you can make that as rich of a magical world as you want. If you need to make them tarot cards, or if you need to find astrological correspondences for it to feel more real. I know it's silly invoking like fictional characters, or may seem like that to some people, but I find that in extreme situations the invocation of such is extremely helpful. And if you're invoking Beast, you're not going to have some 12th century demon tailing your ass because you asked them for something. You're just working within your own mind with what you recognize as Beast's abilities. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it seems safer than working with demons.
Right,
Even though
right,
maybe they're just archetypes are, those are demons playing Beast. You don't think that that's a potential?
Sure, yeah. And always be conscious of that. Study a character like you would a character in a movie or a real person's biography, enough to know all the quirks, and say, do I want to use that the way I would invoke a Hermes or a Toth or something for a specific purpose,
What was the deal with the Sky Surfer Strike Force again? Is there more to that?
Yeah, so the intro reveals the thing about the Matrix and the zombie people and all that, I believe. And then Sky Surfer Strike Force is just it's another one where like every 3 episodes is about a mind control device put on the mind, or put on the brain or head. Every 3 episodes is about some multinational corporation trying to use some ancient evil or something like that. It's very deep and illustrated rather well. And obviously was one of these shows created just to sell figures. So when you look from the way it was created, like the post G.I. Joe Transformers world, where everything was the figures first, and then how to make a show around that, you're going to find the same consistent writers throughout all of the shows, keeping to their obsessions, whether that's reptilians, whether that's AI, whether that's... Did somebody just say boobs?
Yeah, I mean, look at the female act. Like, clearly they're like, hey, look at the doll. She's going to be like way better than the other dolls. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, of course, you look at these characters, you can see how the accessories and things would play in before they even started the show. But I promise these shows are rather deep because of these writers that were just going from show to show to show with their very large ancient alien ideas, or, like I said, reptilian magic, World Trade Center. You can just sift through them, and they're in every series from 1989 to about 1998. 1999 gets us into like the Men in Black and a whole the Ghostbusters Extreme, a whole new world of interesting cartoons. But this era does that over and over.
Wow, these are crazy.
Yeah, man.
So in the Marvel universe, with this idea that there's a new, hero for everything, the idea that if they die, that kills the universe. What do you think about that idea?
I don't know if I like it. I've always liked, like, for instance, my favorite episode of Spider-Man, one of the newer series, Spider-Man Unlimited, is when Moon Knight shows up. Otherwise, I don't even see like a purpose in these newer shows. Oh, here's Spider-Man versus Venom, the 7,000th time with slightly more stylized animation or less detail because we're using computers now. It's all very redundant and boring to me. But I like the idea of merging the other characters who, like in Moon Knight's case, Moon Knight is more interesting than all the Avengers plus 3 X-Men plus, whatever, 6 Avenger villains. So I have to, or I think I depend on that ability for them to jump in and tell the stories of characters from different worlds. Like Excalibur, I was talking about. You won't see them unless they do a guest appearance. And yes, this minimizes everything about their stories and such. But you could still be introduced to their world. Whereas, like, I don't know, Spider-Man 12 dies and then just the world of Spider-Man 12 dies. I don't really get it. Like, I think, like, Into the Multiverse and movies like that were actually rather constructive. I don't see where you're going to go with just like, there's just Wolverine in this world and now we've killed him. So we can't tell stories about Rogue. Very strange.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of what do you think of that, Vincent? Like, did you hear that? We're talking about the multiverses in the Marvel universe. You sounded like you had a similar problem with it, that the Marvel universe is designed that people will die, right? If they're the hero of their universe, but if they die, the universe will have an Armageddon, essentially, like Donnie Darko. Like every single universe is kind of dependent on that superhero, whatever superhero it is. So, like, I think you mentioned this, like the idea that the universe, like, it can't last. Like this multiverse thing, literally, it leads to the destruction of universes. Like, so what do you think about this idea? Because like built into their plan now.
Right. Well, like it's reliant on reboots, and reboots are enabled through this structure of multiverses. So they just have to have a crisis every so often, collapse the multiverse, and then reboot it, and then say that this is now the most canon, say, universe. But then it just ends off having, okay, well, this is the modern continuation, and then you have the old main universes like 97, where they just go, oh no, that's a different universe, we're just gonna reuse it now. But then it just ends up being like, okay, well, those kids who grew up with 97, now they're not kids anymore, now they're adults, but the story's not for them, it's for the new kids. And so what do you want to have? Why would you want to piggyback off of that story? Like, you could just make a new X-Men story entirely. But obviously, it's a monetary system that they're trying to capitalize on all these.
Yeah, the multiverses, like they're really cool ideas, and when all of them came up in the comics in the decade that they did, let's say Infinite Gauntlet, I think it was very constructive and interesting story writing and stuff. But once you have so many movies capitalizing on just the idea of multiverse, and once in the comics you've created 1,000 multiverses to kill off one person, tell a different story, whatever the hell, it becomes so incredibly convoluted. Why aren't we writing about anything else? Like, you can look at other comics. Hellboy still has something to do, and he doesn't travel dimensions or clone himself.
Sure, so, of course, but you can see that, like, the thing is that the reason, the way that the Marvel and DC universe structures itself is that the bad guys are usually stand-ins for the CEOs or the editors or people that they were working under, that are like, we're trying to wipe out your entire universe because we're trying to make more profit and make a new universe. And so the story of Thanos killing half the universe is editors going, kill half of the characters. We have a bloated roster. We need to simplify the story. And they keep doing this, coming up with a new story that's a representative of corporate culture influencing the mythological structure. So they're going like, those are the gods, those are the anti-gods that are trying to destroy God's work, which is the author and the artist. And then you have the evil dark force. But then, due to the multiverse structure, you have now stories that emerge out of that are meta commentaries on the structure of storytelling in our modern era, like the Dark Multiverse branches, which are like, they were like all the all the what if stories that never happened. So like okay, what if all the things that were proposed to the editor or whatever, and he rejected them. And so they take the worst ideas possible, make a multiverse out of that, and then make it attack the mainline multiverse. So you have,
and they all have like a huge story.
Basically.
Sorry, buddy, I did that again. They all have like a huge story behind the scenes. So like Infinite Gauntlet is this huge drama with Jim Starlin and frustration after being at Marvel for so many years. A lot of the places you see Jack Kirby's work go weird, or he kind of took his own direction, like with 2001: A Space Odyssey or whatever, were from behind the scenes frustrations. And so there's a large narrative you can get into behind it to see why the characters are affected that way, when suddenly movies are just doing this over and over or whatever without any of course in a film you don't want to hear about Jack Kirby or the history of some Marvel writer, but if you dig in you see that all has purpose and feeling behind the changes like you're talking about, and then it kind of loses its purpose once you're on Multiverse number 6 and you don't even know anything about the behind the scenes, and you're just like, okay, well, I really like Spider-Man. I'd like to see him in the 6th collage of 500 other characters or whatever. And it's also odd, like the Spider-Man multiverses are just other Spider-Verses. They could have put so many other characters and ideas in there, but they just have 300 different Spider-Mans. And it's cool how in the video games you can go between the different types of Spider-Man or whatever. Even with Warhammer, I was going to say the video games keep up such influence. I'm sorry, man.
Sure, but the thing is that Spider-Man is he's the kid's hero. Like, obviously you have the other ones that are influential, but like whatever Spider-Man is, most little boys will be. So that's why he is the one that has so much focus on the multiplicity of Spider-Man, because so many people identify with Spider-Man, and there's so much more potential for more identification across different aspects of culture that they keep expanding on it. And obviously,
which is merchandising too.
Of course, once it gets into corporate hands, then it becomes a merchandising tool where you can be like, oh, well, no. It can also become a political tool where you go, oh, well, like we'll focus on this Spider-Man version more than this Spider-Man version because this one is the one that follows the agenda a little better. And then they'll do the same for Superman. They'll do the same for Batman. They'll do the same with all of them using the justification of the multiverse. It becomes a corporate
But that's like
tool.
the corporate social score. That's like the idea that every corporation, even if you're the CIA, you have to put your trans people up front because your corporate score goes up, just like if you don't cut down too many trees and your corporate score goes up. The social part of that score is really, really messed up, I think, the way we perceive and the way art is made,
I agree, but like it's like they want to have they want to have the multiplicity, and then they want to restrict it to what they want it to be. Like they'll be like, oh no, Superman, let's make a black Superman, okay? Why? Like, why not have every color Superman? It's a multiverse. You can have a story about 5 Superman altogether: Asian Superman, black Superman, white.
They could all be doing it.
Superwoman. Like it's all possible. But then they go, no. We're gonna only focus on black Superman, or like
the most awful thing is there isn't another black character who's just genuinely awesome that they feel to put up. Like in a Marvel movie, you have like Black Panther or Blade, but these are like 3rd string characters, but they decided to work on them for their corporate scores or whatever to be like diverse, but they should just have a Chinese character who's been cool as hell and rooted in his own thing.
Take the characters that exist. Like you have you have John Stewart, one of the Green Lanterns, super popular Green Lantern. He's a black man. Use that character. Make a Green Lantern with that Green Lantern. He's the most interesting one in the cultural context that you're trying to create. So do it. We don't need Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. We don't need it. Like, that's fine. He's Deadpool. Like, you don't need a snarky Green Lantern. No one gives a shit about a hotshot pilot. Like, it's done. That era is no longer relevant culturally. Like, that died with Danvers? I mean, Miss Marvel?
Bro, Black Racer is lit. What the heck? Why
Black racist? What?
Dude, there's a black racist racer. You made me say it. No, I didn't. Did you know his character? This is a great character.
Willie Walker. That's from
Never heard of it.
one of Kirby's like sort of cosmic books. I think it's from the Bounty Hunters.
Oh my god, dude! Black Racer. Yes, this is my new.
It's like Silver Surfer's like cousin.
This is my new freaking bro. Look at you! Look at you!
Wait, have you ever
go.
heard of Have you ever heard of
Kirby.
Brother Flower, Andreas?
Brother Flower?
No, Brother
No.
Love. Sorry, Brother Love.
Oh, from what?
From DC.
Oh no.
Comics.
I like Brother
wait,
Voodoo
no, wait,
or
what is
whatever.
it? I think it's Brother Power.
Brother Power. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Well, he's the geek. Power Brother the geek.
I read it the Greek, and I was going a whole different direction.
I don't know if
So
you've ever
that's
read
either
the story.
Kirby or imitative Kirby. The first character was all Kirby, and Kirby was the one who made Black Panther
This character is
amazing.
incredible.
With all this, Kirby was the one who put all this very interesting, like ancient aliens art in all of the characters in the Eternals, regardless where they're ethnically from. So he did like this great version of Black Panther, who's not technically an Eternal, but it was that same time in the books where there's all this really cool African colored architecture, and Black Panther becomes this really dynamic, amazing character. And you'll find Kirby was always rather diverse, especially with the books he could work on his own.
Dude, Brother Power.
Sorry, I'll stop on Kirby.
Amazing. No. Kirby's
Brother Power is he's like the spirit of hippies. So like he's the element
a lot of drugs. He's
brotherly
Blue Boy
love.
from Dragnet. Are you kidding me? He looks like he's super high.
It was literally a bunch of hippies. They were taking a bunch of drugs. They got together and then they made a puppet for political reasons that they were going to make him run for office. And then he got hit by lightning and became basically a sentient being. And
he looks like Shade the Changing Man.
He's an elemental like Swamp Thing kind of thing.
That's pretty sweet.
Oh, okay.
Dude.
He looks like Shade the Changing Man might have, like that character could have evolved in Morrison's head to Shade. I'm sorry, not Morrison, the Vertigo guys, John Ray Niebuhr. Sorry,
I think I first read him in a Neil Gaiman story, if I'm not mistaken. That was where I sourced that character.
Okay, cool.
Fuck it. Comic books are weird.
Dude.
I highly recommend, I'm reading currently The Immortal Hulk. I highly recommend this. It's a giant brick of a book, like it weighs like 25 pounds, but like it's probably the greatest deconstruction and analysis of the Hulk. And like, I mean, it's all about like Jungian psychology, and like it really goes deep into multiple personality disorder, the symbolism of, you know, like heaven and hell, and the tree of life, and the function of it in, I'll have to check. Hold on.
Sorry, you don't need to. And now
the Black Racer is a character, a deity, an avatar of death in the DC Comics universe who hunts those affiliated with the new gods.
Cool. That looks cool. Up. Wow.
Whoa, that looks like
that's a tome, bro.
Book, but about Hulk.
Fuck.
Dang.
The greatest run in the history of the Incredible comic.
Wow. So what's that? I mean, it's huge. What's that? What's in there?
Basically the theme is that the Hulk is sourced. The power of the Hulk, all gamma radiation is sourced from the one below all. So the one below all being God's opposite, and this is God's shadow, essentially. And so the force of rage, the force of primordial cosmic rage is sourced, like all of it, at the one below all. And so the Hulk is a conduit for essentially demonic power, but can be used for something positive. So it's like it in the end, like it becomes about choice. Rage in itself isn't necessarily bad, but channeling it into something productive is the optimal path forward. You can't just rage through everything, you know, obviously. So, I mean, it deals with trauma. It's about his basically a portal is open to hell and his father comes out. And his father in the story murdered his mother in front of him. And it's like, it's the root cause of all of the Hulk's traumas and personality disorders. And then they bring it to the forefront. But it's interesting to see the impact of rage and of, I guess, tapping into dark power to empower yourself, and the consequences of those around you, the world around you, and what it really does. Super fascinating story. Highly recommended. They reach back into old stories of the Hulk, and then they recontextualize it. They go like, in the original, this is Hulk's perspective, and then they show the perspective of the person he beats the shit out of, and like it's a guy who was exposed to gamma radiation. He suddenly has powers, and then the Hulk comes and beats the shit out of him. And it's super interesting.
Have you read Green Arrow Green Arrow and Green Lantern when they go in the 70s, 1968, I think it is. Green Arrow,
I know Green Arrow.
Green Hornet and Green Arrow?
No. Green Arrow.
Green Arrow had a partner that overdosed on speed, I think, or heroin.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were referencing somehow.
No, in Green Lantern, Green Arrow, it's like 1968 or 1970 or something like that, and it starts out where the Green Lantern shows up, and there's this old fat man being like pushed out of this old building and not allowed into the building, and all of these angry black poor people that are screaming at him and saying and waving bricks and saying like, "Stay away from here." And so the Green Lantern comes down and he like stops them and he uses a bunch of power to like save this like fat guy. And then Green Arrow shows up. He's like, "Dude, stop it. What are you doing?" He slaps him. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Dude, you're helping the wrong guy because he's their landlord. He's going to tear down their homes to build a parking lot. He's, he just bought this building, like cheated to do it, like with the help of the city. All these people have no place to live. Like there's all this complications. And they go on this long trip, like across America. And Green Arrow constantly is teaching Green Lantern about all of the socioeconomic disparity going on. And they meet like biker gangs, occults, like Satanist groups, vampiristic groups, Black Panthers, women's rights groups, and Wiccan, witchcraft covens, like democratic like groups run by corrupt military and mafia, around America. And yeah, it's an interesting comic because the whole point is like you're trying to be a hero. You have the power to save people and to stop people. Who do you save and who do you stop? Because sometimes it looks like this is the good guy when they're the bad guy. It looks like the bad guy when they're the good guy, or there's no good guy, and it gets convoluted to be a superhero in this world.
Hey Frank, have you ever read the Final Crisis by Grant Morrison? I think it's called Final Crisis.
Wait. I have the map of the multiverse, the Grant Morrison one over there, but if my phone wasn't about to die, I wanted to share it with you guys. I'm sorry, was it DC or
yeah, Final Crisis DC.
Okay, yeah, I haven't read it, bro, but I know exactly what you mean.
They should make a movie of that. They should make this should be the last DC movie, and they should just do it. And it's the most complex movie that'll ever have been made ever. But just do it. It's one of the greatest comic book stories ever written. But it's so complicated because every panel is a different place and a different part of the story. So it doesn't like follow traditional storytelling where you have like a scene where thing happens and then you follow the character. It's literally going like, this is what's happening in Wonder Woman right now. This is what's happening in Green Lantern right now. This is what happens in Flash right now. But it's all connected.
That's how he did Multiverse.
Perfect story.
That's literally how movies work. Though. Like, look at the Lord of the Rings, and they took all the 3 books and they shuffled them together. And
no. The thing is, Lord of the Rings would be like, hey, here's a page for part of this story. Here's a page for this part. This is one panel because the story is there's so much story.
Right. No, but it's like a movie. Panel. I mean, I'm saying it would be perfect for a movie because you just rapidly cut from like this is happening to this is happening as the world is evolved, as the universe is.
You can make it like a montage kind of.
Yeah, and be like an action movie.
Montage. But
Infinite Crisis is really good. It's also like a pretty thick series too.
I'd recommend it to anyone, man. Final Crisis. I'd recommend it to anyone who can actually process this information because, like, Final Crisis is like most people I don't think could actually enjoy it, but the select few.
You ever read Desolation Jones, the Warren Ellis comic?
No, I'm not. I don't think so. Desolation Jones.
They have these really interesting characters called the Tailors of Time, who are essentially the men in black or the strangers from Dark City. And I really, really harp on this because Dark City is my favorite film. and still has me thinking more than probably any other film. And I like the lifelong study of the Men in Black. That stuff's really important to me, even though, my thing is UFOs and the alien abduction phenomenon. The Men in Black.
We lost you. The Men in Black are definitely connected to the UFO phenomenon. Oh, am I the one who froze? Well, we lost him, I think. He's permanently glitched out. He's a reptilian. I could see his eye doing the thing. So
is this it?
We lost. Did we lose Andreas? And
well, I don't know. So, sometimes he can end the stream and he won't.
No, we're still live. You can see in the top corner.
We're live. That's awesome.
Well, when it comes to the, you're a comic book reader, I figure, Frank. Kurt.
I don't think I've ever read a comic book, to be honest. That's not a flex or anything. It's never been my thing.
It's not your medium of choice.
I suppose not.
I understand. I got put there very young, so it was part of my life young. So that's why I'm able to do it. But I never liked animated stuff that much. So it's like I'm always trying to watch these movies and these shows catch up to those stories, and they always seem to fail because there's like a focus on things that they miss the point of the actual stories, it seems, in movies and DC and the MCU and these sort of things. Like, instead of being about the story, it's about, I don't know, whatever message they're trying to inject outside of that story. I don't know. Did you watch did you watch Black Panther 2?
I don't think I watched the second one. I watched the first one for sure.
Right. So the first one, good movie, it has conflict. It's about their internal struggle in their politics and stuff, and the role people have, noblesse oblige, what role do the rich have in helping the poor, kind of thing. And then the second movie, the actor died for it before they could make it. So instead of doing what he said in the previous movie, they just go, you guys tried to steal our technology, therefore we're not giving it to help anyone in the world. Even if the previous movie was the opposite of that. They go yeah, we know you're going to try to take it, but we have to help you anyways. And then the moment that someone tries to take this amazing technology, they go, no, you guys are mean or whatever. And so the movie becomes a sort of oh, we're better than you, and therefore we don't have to help you with our technology. And then people are what? Well, we're gonna take it then. What you're not gonna share this revolutionary technology that cures everything? Apparently it doesn't cure the thing that killed T'Challa, but apparently they can do everything else with that. Weird movie, because it became the first one was about I guess culture as a whole and people as a whole together, but there it really became more of a it's a girl boss movie. It's the same thing as every other one. Girl boss movie. There's the super smart, perfect teenage black girl who can make Iron Man suits in her room. It's really become that sort of agenda as opposed to the actual story of Black Panther and Wakanda and all these things.
You think with the second one, that's how you feel, or the first one?
That's the second one. That's the second one.
Oh, okay, yeah. With the whole girl boss thing, that's a trend. I've just I guess I've subverted that trend just because I haven't been watching movies. It's and the only thing I've seen about that, it seemed there was a South Park episode that just addressed that, and I think everybody knows. Everybody that knows movies knows what's going on with South Park just because they're still influential. Even though I haven't watched an actual episode in a long time, but yeah, just one of the lines was make her gay, make her boring and gay.
Pretty much, make her lame and gay.
The original, I'm back at work. The original Black Panther was problematic Let me use the word because you didn't use it earlier. So here's the deal.
Problematic.
Yeah. So I remember the issue with it going to see it was it illustrated how unsustainable this society would be because they deal with their problems through violence, right? They end up having like all right, let's go out and have a big fight in the middle of a pit, and like fight each other. It's like, wow, so you have no civility that allows for sustainability of governance. And if somebody attacks the leader when they're not feeling well, then you basically lose your government. So there's a lot of problems to like the way the Wakanda government was held together because it was built on this apex predator model, right? And so of course it's going to lead to some sort of a merit-based system that can game the predator system, right? That's the issue, and that's why it leads to what it is. Though it dies,
To what degree do we have meritocracy that's pretty much, very similar? Andreas is gone again. But yeah, we have a meritocracy, but then you think about all the lame parts of it. There's this great YouTube channel. I think it's called, I watched like 3 videos in the past day. It's called Good Work. I don't like promoting things in general, but like they actually have really funny videos, and it takes on subjects like what do consulting firms actually do? And then he tries to like interview people that are part of consulting firms. And then you realize like, oh, wow, there's just a lot of bureaucracy surrounding this. And part of that key is like, what makes some things funny is that on the whole of it, it seems like nobody has a total grasp of what's going on, like not in the specialty. Like, yeah, that's the one. Like the host is actually like really good. He does one about like, well, not BlackRock, but what does BlackRock do? They do, whatever the subject is, like big giant equity firms. Yeah, he's like, what do equity firms do? So yeah, the tone is really hilarious and very lighthearted. But like, I think when it comes to evaluating like what those firms do, for example, it's like, yeah, they make lots of money, but do they make more money than a person does, like investing in the S&P 500? It seems like nobody has a total idea what's going on. So it seems like when people invest in those things, it's like they're investing in the idea of security. Like, oh, someone else is going to make me money when functionally they could do it themselves. Sorry, where I was going with that and how that relates to Black Panther is that I think within the system of hierarchy is like within that first movie, the fighting challenging system, it's what we already have to kind of a degree, but it's like more metaphorical. It's more metaphorical to the meritocracy. It's like the reason why but it also doesn't function that well. We must say it doesn't function that well. We elect people like Donald Trump. I'm not a fan of any political candidate. Let me just put it out there. I'm a fan of the ones that aren't popular at all. But like he gets votes by essentially just being loud and just screaming as if he's the strongest ape that's in the room, the biggest, loudest, most obnoxious ape in the room, and people are like, yeah, this is awesome. It appeals to emotion, but I don't think that functions very well. But that's what we have, and that's what's been kind of just skating along for the past couple hundred years. It's like it functions, but it doesn't function. So like, I don't know. I don't think the system in the original Black Panther, it was all that different than metaphorically what we already have. But yeah, there's a lot we could say about that movie, but sorry, I was just kind of like responding to that.
That's fair. What do you think about the rage part earlier? You were talking about Immortal Hulk, and I was thinking about like rage and how people work with rage. What do you think about all that?
If there was any comic I would read first, it would be like the Hulk comics, because like no, honestly, like I really like the whole Bruce Banner thing, and it's one thing. I mean, as a kid, I kind of gravitated to it, but like now I gravitated to it for different reasons. Why I think with like Bruce Banner, the whole thing that makes people drawn to Hulk as a character, and I think you didn't see that much Hulk in like the last couple of Avenger movies, and I think that disappointed a lot of people. But what was awesome about the Hulk and what draws people in, I think it's because of that whole there's a mysterious aspect to Bruce Banner, and like why can the Hulk just like compete with gods and other things? It's because like there's like a representation of the shadow, unlike a lot of other. I mean, like Deadpool. I think Deadpool like represents the shadow, but the Hulk does too in a lot of ways.
And the Hulk is first, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of the anti-hero elements to the Hulk, but I also think there's that mystery is like the things that will be most dangerous are the things that you cannot control. And so I think there's supposed to be like this primal, like chaotic energy within the Hulk that makes everyone respect it or fear it or not, and even not completely understand it. And I think that's the things are the most powerful are the things that are primal and the things that we do not understand. And so I think that's why Hulk rounds out the universe very well. And it's hard to imagine this in the whole universe without having a character like the Hulk. So yeah, it's great,
Frank, what do you think? I know you're back.
Yes. I think a lot of characters are like that. And I think, again, that plays into that magic side, if not just the Jungian side, to understand the extremes of things like rage, but also that you're a person moving through a liminal emotion. It's not sort of with you forever. I think American Time Machine said it well, and I caught the very end. So sorry if that was a lame attempt at rounding up what was being said.
What do you think about? What do you think about rage in general? I guess you're talking about the Hulk earlier, because of Vincent's book. But yeah, what do you think about that idea of the shadow? And it is interesting, the idea that the Hulk is able to compete with these superheroes who are altruistic, but he's really, built from his primal beast. It's like altered states, beast, human, animalistic rage.
I think it reminds me of Wolverine, because it's such an extreme and such an instinctual thing, and we know that there's sort of a bright intellectual, ridden with self-indulgence that's a personality separate from that extreme rage. I think that Jack Kirby, and I think that Christopher Knowles would back me up on this because he's said similar things many times. I think that Jack Kirby, from the war and from other trauma and from being sickly as a kid, had a lot of this built up rage. And so that's why the character that Jack Kirby considered himself, the Thing from Fantastic Four, as well as the Hulk, and I think the influence came down the Marvel reins into Wolverine. But I think that Jack Kirby has even more characters, and it really shows in his art style. He's trying to show you something dynamic and stylized, like ancient art of action or great wars. And then there's panels where it's just the smashing, just the rage, just trying to deal with the inner workings going on that the outer superhero can't express as a person who's just supposed to fight bad guys and go away and be unseen otherwise. I think that Ben Grimm, the Thing from Fantastic Four, has this goofy trench coat Ninja Turtles, definitely not going to hide who he is, outfit, this disguise that he puts on that I think Jack related to very deeply. Trying to put on a suit and not have those emotions overwhelm you and things. And I think because of the war and because of drawing all his life, that was the most constructive way to vent and then to teach us, to show us these kind of archetypal things and these inner struggles. I know that in the war, he could smell the Nazis' aftershave as he was secretly crouched down in their base, drawing the entire base to bring back to U.S. intelligence and U.S. forces. This was another containment of the rage he felt. He was only able to sketch and hopefully not get caught and shot. But this was something where Ben Grimm is wearing that trench coat, trying to get through a situation that he would rather clobber the Nazis for. He'd rather get up and just give it his all, Wolverine rage out,
Yeah, it's crazy to think about the idea of like the be yourself character emerging, because so many of these characters are about hiding their identity in order to protect their families, right?
Right. But some things aren't hidden and are annoying. So in other words, Reed Richards, the leader of the Fantastic Four, is so heady and intellectual, it turns off his mate. It messes with the way Sue Storm perceives him because he becomes sort of a workaholic like that. I think those things are very intelligently built into so many Marvel characters, and we just kind of take it as slapstick nonsense when we see the movie and the abbreviated version of decades of mythology and well-built characters.
Nice. Well, Kurt, what are you gonna say?
Oh, I have. I wasn't jumping at the gun or anything, but
your microphone got really quiet. What's up with that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
There you are. There you are.
Okay,
it was a cord.
Beautiful. It's yeah. My cord is. I need to replace some things, but anyway, no, I love all these characters, and I might be backtracking if I add more onto it, but yeah, another thing about certain characters, and especially the Hulk, I think like the thing about like the Hulk doesn't necessarily get his powers just from the gamma radiation. Like, yeah, he does, but he actually gets his power basically by trauma, because like anytime he gets triggered, like that's essentially what's he's getting triggered, and it's like it's like there's not a lot of other people that might have totally like embodied the transformation quite like the character that they chose. They chose to make Bruce Banner like tied to the Hulk, like inseparable. And so I think that, yeah, that plays into at least like I think there's been a lot of variants to the Hulk story over the years, but that was like really integrated in the original concept. So I think. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So the Hulk has multiple personality disorder. The character has different personas that emerge based on the environment that he's in and the trauma that he's experiencing. So it really, he choosing Bruce Banner for this role was, I guess, because of that, they allowed him to explore the different ways that anger manifests, the way that it can be integrated with intelligence, the way that it can be truly monstrous, and sometimes just like an innocent child. And so most of the time, like Hulk has a depiction of like sort of like a truly innocence, but like a child that it's having a tantrum that has consequences that are global, you know? And so that's the tantrum of every human. It's the collective tantrum that we're having, you know? But the character of, I mean, the gamma irradiated, you can see that anger manifested in different characters. Like Betty, his girlfriend, becomes the Red She-Hulk, and she's angry at him. You know, like she gets irradiated by him. Her whole life is ruined, and now she becomes completely bound to this anger that is sourced from hell. And then you have her father, who is the Red Hulk, who is militarized anger and rage, militarized might, and he's fighting the commoner's rage, basically, you know. And then you have some of the other ones that... Sorry, go on.
Oh no, you good, man. I think it's really interesting if we look at all that we've been talking about. We have these adult men who are dealing with trauma or a major traumatic event. The trauma is inside, but then they're constantly triggered to fight the outside world, Thing or Hulk, or because they believe in it. But then the X-Men weren't given any choice. They all have, or most of them, have childhood trauma that's just stacked and stacked and stacked. And then once their powers developed, they're even further physically abused, traumatized in this sort of way. And then they, as very young people, have to put this aside and say, how's the best way to go out there and fight crime representative of an X-Man, and then come home and not just break down over my dad beating me up the first 12 years of my life, and then when I got my powers, you know, throwing cinder blocks at my head or whatever, in the case of Sabretooth. But I'm just thinking of Jubilee, you know. She's very nervous. She's trying to figure out how to be a teenager. She knows something's different. She's adopted. Her parents are even rather weary of her and may just want to get rid of her at any point. And then she blows up the VCR in like the first episode of the X-Men cartoon. And this just overwhelms her. This is something that her parents have bought. She doesn't want to inflict her her powers in her parents' lives in any way. And then she winds up breaking a household appliance. And luckily enough, Rogue and Storm are there for take her to a girls' night out and go shopping in the mall. But then the Sentinels attack the entire mall. So this trauma is something that isn't even put away for 3 hours when making new friends and trying new experiences. It's after them and after them and after them. And when the state, the military industrial complex, like the Red Hulk sort of representative character, becomes another habitual trauma on top of your own personal stuff, just I think that's very interesting character making, and I think it was done purposely with the X-Men. And of course Kirby was conscious of this with Hulk, Thing, and I could name 12 other burly guys, but I just can't think of them at the moment.
Well, I find it interesting. You're talking about Jubilee, and it had me thinking, like, these characters. Some of them are temporal archetypes in the sense that, like, they're meant to represent a certain age group. Like Jubilee is meant to be the teenager, but I've never seen her grow up. I've never seen her become the full adult. And then other characters, they sort of stagnate in that time. And I think that's an issue that also occurs. Like we were talking earlier about people who get stuck on a certain archetype and they can't evolve. And I think that the sitcom is in part to blame for that, as well as the way that comic books tend to stutter in their storytelling, where they're like, here's an ending. Okay, no, that's not the actual ending. And then they just keep doing that over and over and over. But sitcoms are literally unchanging, just the same character over and over and over. Like Cartman never changes. Therefore people who still identify with Cartman never see his actual growth and can never actually emulate it. There is no hero's journey in their story. It's just returned to literally the same point, unchanged, unwiser. And
people find comfort in that, but it's in no way realistic. So people go, well, I want to be Cartman because that's everything about me in some silly fashion. And they get totally stuck with, well, isn't this appealing and funny to other people that I'm rash and I'm goofy like this?
The problem is doing the whole thing with any one character, because you're supposed to do it about the whole universe around that character.
Well,
and because it's Deus Ex Machina, you are the Machina, you are the machine, you are the quantum character relationship between all of the characters. You are the Fantastic Four. You're not Miss Fantastic or Mr. Fantastic or
But like, they recognize the problem. The people who created this,
they did it on purpose. This is why
the creators of South Park, they recognized that at some point they realized, oh shit, we created a bunch of Cartman. We made this problem, and the storytelling started becoming like, okay, well, let's show why he's wrong. We're gonna make it
Johnny Tits right now and lives in a hot dog stand. Like, they're teaching him lessons.
There's some karma in there, and so that needs to be reflected, and that's part of the responsibility of storytelling.
But it's
great power comes great responsibility, and we forget that. We just go like, no, it's just whatever. We can make whatever. We can just make Beavis and Butthead forever. And
but it's duly noted that people will idolize characters, and we look at like The Office and how people are like, I could be that Office character. I could be, if I'm in a mundane world, I could be, that's my romanticized heroic.
It's my anchor. My anchoring character.
Yeah, that's messed up. People need to stop doing that. We need to stop people from doing that and have them.
But the thing is, it can't be stopped. I mean, like, people will look at Jesus or something instead and be like, okay, well, that's the greatest anchor. I'm going to anchor myself with that.
Yeah, but even Jesus is all about like building a Christ corporation.
But they need other anchors. We need other mythological structures that are different based on our environment. Like, let's say currently I work in a bar making food for drunk people. I feel like SpongeBob, but like,
which drunk people?
I feel like a
pretentious ones with suits sometimes. It's all right.
Or Squidward,
I did that for 12 years. I think that people find and am very unhappy with the sort of reciprocal of like, I come here and I'm interesting to talk to or whatever, and I'm setting up a bar every night, but people are just getting aimlessly drunk and no one is having a deep conversation. It's just this thing I'm helping people sort of devolve. I got really, really worked up about it, or especially when it got to over a decade of doing that.
Did anyone call you garçon? Is that like a thing or no? That's not a thing.
No,
not a thing. Boy, get me my mineral water. And that's not happening.
Well, they actually called me.
No,
They actually called me Brick as like an early joke. Like I don't move around a lot. I don't do anything, so I'm a brick. I don't see how my energy reflects that. But then for a decade, 2 years after, everyone's saying, "Brick, get me that. Brick, go clean the bathroom." Brick,
And now
go.
Brick
You
is
could see
running
how-
12 years. Yeah, I mean, I can see how Brick applies. You're
defeating the petrodollar. They're all thinking about it. Good job.
Yeah, and they all
Well,
knew
but,
I
you
was
know, my
capable
character.
of
If it makes
having
you
these
feel any better,
conversations.
if it makes you feel any better, the archetype that I made reflecting me in my comic book is called Cement Head. So
That's really
Brick
interesting.
Cementhead, you know.
Yeah, I didn't mean to actually bitch about that. I had some point. Oh, like if you told the guy, because you brought up Beavis and Butthead, you psychically pulled that from what I was about to say. You know, if you were the creator of Beavis and Butthead, Matt, I can't think of his name, and so you're going,
Judge.
okay, well,
Mike
in
Judge.
Mike Judge, in a world of like absurd changes and weird rules and control, if I create this to be funny for people, this could really help people out. Like they have enough bullshit in their lives. Why don't I create just these two funny guys, just a comedic approach? But if you told Mike Judge, hey man, like realistically, I know you made Idiocracy and everything, but like totally realistically, in 25 to 30 years, no one will have any interest in reading books. Intellectual knowledge will not be a thing like people really want to gravitate toward.
Yeah.
These
Beavis
crappy
and Butthead
apps
should have
on our
like
phone will take
gone
up
through
everything.
puberty. They should have
Sure,
gone
but-
through puberty and started like dating Daria and Jane, bro. That would have
The
been
thing is that
Yes.
the thing is that
integrating.
look, we
Jane is
we
my
have
dream
to
girl.
go.
Eternal.
We have to go through these things to change, and it's not we fear Idiocracy, of course, but really what we're doing is we're able to assimilate more information faster. We've had the set of fucking information basically compressed time-wise, where now we can consume things that before we had to wait a week to consume every single time we wanted to consume it. And now it's just you can watch an entire season, boom, like that. You can consume culture ultra fast, and not only that, you can control the speed of it. You can watch it while you're outside. You can do it anywhere now, and people do. And so clearly sorry, go on. Ask your question.
I was just saying, how worthwhile is that? You know, like if we can have everything at our fingertips, but we're watching people trip over logs.
We're consuming technology. First of all, there's the dumb stuff, but that's a spectrum. We consume stupid shit. We consume intelligent shit. The people that I know that are the smartest also like the dumbest comedy, because it takes intelligence to create that stupidity. Not only like even the more believable stupidity, the smarter it is. Like, you know, people they'll appreciate it if it's realistic stupidity, or if it's so absurd that it becomes comedic, you know, like Trailer Park Boys, for example. Like the absurdity of real world experiences for people like that it takes intelligence to actually manifest that.
That's one of my favorite shows.
Mike Judge
Jane really is hot. You're right. Jane is kind of
Jane. I dated Jane for 8 years. I hope I find another Jane. I am only attracted to Jane.
I dated a combination of the two.
Gay. Interesting.
Daria's cool too, though. I get the whole thing. I get the whole.
Like Jane,
Beavis and Butthead needed Daria. You know, it really did. I wish they weren't too different. They were.
Well, now there's the new Beavis and Butthead, right? Beavis and Butthead take on the universe or something.
There's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. All right.
But you know, like it's more self-reflective now. It's like there's a self-awareness to what he's doing, that he knows that these are losers. I mean, he knew back then too, but like the joke was. Like it's more
upsetting the Canadians. Dude, Trailer Park is actually based on true events. Don't worry, it's all true.
Don't worry, all stories are based on true events. I mean, that's how we make storytelling.
Trailer Park is based on actual Canadians. Like I want to put that at the beginning of any movie.
Of course, it's a documentary.
But
the show is based on actual Canadians.
That's a really great. It's a really great show, though. Like I'll
Ellen
look down
Page
on
is actually related to the people in Trailer Park Boys. Okay, that's why she was there. I think she was someone's niece in that. So clearly, true story. Sorry,
there actually are trailers in parts of Canada.
What's Ellen Page now? Ellis Page?
I don't know the current. Her final form. I don't know the final form.
Wait, are they Elliot Page now?
Elliot Page.
Elliot.
Are you kidding me? Is this a thing now?
Yeah.
Elliot Page is not. Wait, hold on.
No, yeah, it's a thing.
Oh, wait, yeah, sorry. I got it backwards. I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought they switched back. I was like, dude, flip-flopper. No. Stay with your dream. Stay with your dream. Stay with your dream. I was thinking Elliot kind of sounded like a girl's name. I'm thinking like
Believe
George
in yourself,
Elliot.
I guess.
But George Elliot is like the writer's name. Oh, my God. Sorry.
No, George Elliot was not in Trailer Park Boys.
Dude, but George Elliot wrote Trailer Park Boys, basically. Right? Marianne Evans invented like Trailer Park Boys. If you think about it, it's the same thing. Okay.
It's all the same story. It's X-Men. It's X-Men 97.
I was about to say.
Dude, Marianne Evans, George Elliot is Wolverine this summer. Sorry, go ahead.
Bubbles is the greatest character ever. And I was just going to say, I realized that Jane deserves a very articulate and interesting woman, and that's what she's actually attracted to. The science doesn't cross my brain, and I'm just like, I need Jane to complete me.
I hope that Elliot Page has got something out of this that makes them feel more fulfilled or more happy or something.
Sure.
Even if they haven't, he hasn't, I'm super stoked for the universe, because that's just one more phenomenological set of experiences that we can throw under our belt.
Something we got to go through.
It's their notch in our belt,
in the pursuit of human identity and what we mean. This is
the only bad thing is like you can't method act it and then turn it off. So the only bad thing is like you can't. We used to be able to like dress up as women and try it on for a night at a party, but now you have to fully transfigure yourself permanently in order to experience that. And like all love for anyone who's happier.
No, you can go and you can cross dress if you want, but people will make assumptions like, oh, that guy's trans. Like, no, I wore a dress. No, he's trans. But that's just that's on them. And back then they would have called you names back too. Like, oh, that guy's wearing a dress. Let's beat him up or whatever. And like,
sure, yeah, of course.
Now the words have changed, but like you could still put on a skirt.
I feel like I'm
gonna put on a kilt and I'll be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm proud of this.
Put on a kilt.
I'm not saying you can't
Highlander.
Method act a woman in the way that I say we can method act anyone or any fictional character, but I mean that now there comes with it this thing like, well, if you're thinking that way, you have to, fully go all the way to respect the people who also fully sacrifice or just whatever, and it's caught up in this thing. Whereas
ideological tribalism, they're like, we all have to agree with each other about every single thing, or else you're not one of us.
And I just feel bad for people who have transitioned and then have found like awful depression and things in their lives. I know a lot of people are super happy because they're the form they wanted to be their whole lives. But I think there's other people that got caught up in, well, I think maybe I'm a kind of in between. I'm kind of like a man and a woman, totally natural thing to feel. But I should also go with this camp that's, totally
surgery
changing.
And altering, yeah.
Yeah. And nothing against that. I just I feel bad.
I'm hoping that the race between reality and meta will like help with this virtual reality and meta, because the fact that you can play video games as whatever you want to look like,
customizable human beings,
then
fully customizable.
Then you can run through different possibilities. And I'm not saying that, that's the same as being a thing, but it's going to get really close. Things are people get so much out of experiences right now. And I know people that have broken backs, or the quadriplegics or paraplegics that play video games, or like they have, issues that like they play video games all the time. Like I'm just starting to understand like the kind of people that are just playing video games all the time because they can't do other things, So it's amazing, like the kind of experiences they get. Also, the kinds of experiences that kids that are locked up in Singapore, Dubai, probably, or in New York City or in San Francisco, like there's places where people are keeping their kids safe and they're playing video games, and those are where they're getting their emotional experiences and attachments even to characters that they're friends in the game, these NPCs that they're persuading in RPGs, right? So it's kind of interesting.
Their sense of accomplishment and everything, if they're not branching out into the physical world, that's everything to them, And I think a lot of games are made to be comfortable for those people, and that's all good and fine.
Yeah, but I think it's also you can do both too. Like, and you can use it as a way to avoid, like, if you're like, wow, I really want to know what it's like to be a woman. By the way, you should make it procedural generated speedrunner, or you're just running, but you're right behind the person running, and the person's a girl with a big booty, right? That's all, because like that's the game, that basically, at this point in this society. but it'll emotionally. I mean, isn't that kind of more useful than hormone and surgery? And those things are just trying to sell themselves because they just really need to sell their market. Really, and people are always like, "Why are they doing this ideological thing?" It's like, well, dude, they just really want to sell surgeries, right?
Yeah, and Fortnite's not going to ask you to sign up for that. You just get a big ass running in front of you, and if you're a guy, why not play as a guy or a girl? If you're a girl, why not try a guy? Because you're not jumping over into that sex. You're having an experience where you can experience certain aspects of that and how other males or females.
No one asks me questions when I want to play Echo the Dolphin and play as a dolphin. I'm just saying. Well, that's
such a great game.
Weird. Yeah, but it should be considered weird. I don't know. Well, we're past the 2 hour mark. I was gonna go get some food in a bit because it's nearly noon here. Do you any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Consume good stories.
X-Men cool. X-Men is cool.
X-Men is cool. Who's your favorite X-Men? Hold on.
Colossus.
Colossus? Which version?
The original comic and animated version. I don't know.
I don't know because there's Ultimate X-Men Colossus, and he's like really gay. So I was wondering.
Oh, sorry. No, so the original X-Men. I have no problem with the fella being gay, but I'm just saying the original incarnation is what I related to as a kid. My dad's from Czechoslovakia, and I didn't know him the years I was growing up. So I essentially figured out that he was Dolph Lundgren that sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but from Czechoslovakia. Okay, and so immediately the Punisher, Frank Castle, my name's Frank, of course, and Colossus and people like that. I was just like, that's my
Colossus
dad.
Is like your father figure? Like you view him kind of like your father? It's interesting because I view Wolverine like my father. So like he became like a reflection of my father.
Yeah,
I understand totally what Colossus would be for someone else. Like I totally get it.
Yeah,
Magneto's pretty based.
Oh, your dad looks like a Magneto. I'm sure Andreas had a dad that was very Magneto.
Charles Xavier's all right too, but he's a little weird. I feel like Charles Xavier seems a little creepy and like
Onslaught threw me off.
But
Xavier
was a very interesting character.
Xavier was the papa. Xavier was the papa teacher homie, and then all of a sudden Onslaught happened, and it's like, wait, his shadow is so powerful.
Well, it's Magneto. It's Magneto, and it's their two ideologies basically fusing.
Yeah, I just thought it was silly that Xavier lost his shit, like he's the most powerful telepath ever. Or whatever.
What if a telepath has a neurotic breakdown or a psychosis? What happens?
That's the Phoenix. That's the Phoenix.
That's the female psychic, though. That's a different archetype.
You're correct.
Different power dynamic.
I won't comment further on the female part. But you're absolutely correct.
But I think the Phoenix is more like the cosmic force. It's like she's like a cosmic entity, a cosmic representation, the symbol of all-powerful woman. Well, Xavier is the crippled bureaucrat who's just like there to be a diplomat.
It's like the Jordan Peterson who doesn't know the inside of his mind, but he's
like politics versus nature.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jordan Peterson, if you don't like being compared to Professor Xavier.
No. I'm sure he'd be
honored. When they compare him to there's another one they compared him to.
Does he think I should be in a wheelchair?
Isn't he Onslaught?
Yeah.
Does he think I should be in a wheelchair, or does he think I can't walk right? Is it my voice that I can't walk? Why would he? I think a lot of the archetypal.
I don't know. I always thought of him more like a scarecrow kind of guy,
Wow. Yeah. I could see that. I don't think he'd be happy with that, but I could see that. I don't have any kind of
He'd analyze the shit out of that statement.
Red Skull.
I don't like scaring people. I like helping people.
He's Red Skull. That's what it was. Remember?
Wow.
Boring. He's not Red Skull. Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's what they.
Hell?
You're saying he's a German super soldier? Come on.
There was a thing that compared him to that. It was adorable. He's like, "All right, I love it." I don't know. It was like complimentary. They were trying to attack him. Yeah. Kurt, what were you gonna? What are you gonna?
Oh
say?
no, the reason is because they used some of Jordan Peterson's speech in the comic book. That's why they made Red Skull say some of Jordan Peterson's.
They were trying to make Red Skull seem
like
the
hell.
Yeah. That's what happened. Yeah.
How do you what?
Yeah, it didn't work. It was dumb.
Of course.
Pay attention to
but can you imagine like that as a storytelling tool? They're like they weaponized Red Skull against Jordan Peterson. That is like scary. They were like, let's make this character who is a representation of 1940s Germany say something that a modern Canadian
Yeah, because Canadians are basically
psychoanalysts. It's fucking ridiculous. It's absurd.
Hey, you started the conversation with Warhammer 40k and fascism. This is your fault, and you're Canadian. So basically proves...
Bro, I didn't make Warhammer. You can't blame him.
He didn't make comic books. He just was Canadian.
No, he retro-causally created Hitler.
Yeah, which is what I'm going to make you do. So, the time machine.
Not again. Fuck, this time loop is ridiculous.
Kurt, though,
Kurt's keep making Hitler.
Kurt's looking at his like really fantastic manicure, and he's noticing that it looks. Oh, is he frozen? Oh, okay.
He's frozen in nails.
Oh,
that's his deep thinker stance.
He's like, okay. I thought you were looking at your fingers like I have absolutely nothing underneath my fingernails. You have a perfect manicure. Sorry. Tell us what you're thinking about.
Oh, my internet's so bad that I'm like missing out on the last 5 minutes of conversation. To be honest.
Oh no.
I don't know why. Yeah, sorry, but I mean I got the whole like Jordan Peterson Red Skull thing. In hindsight, that seemed. Yeah, that just seemed like a gaffe, in my opinion. Like, whoever the writer was, like, maybe they were trying to troll, and they were saying, like, hey, I'll turn this into a meme, and they succeeded, but I don't know, it doesn't even seem like a good troll, like, in hindsight. It was just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, do what you want, but I don't know if there was, like, a tangible, like, great outcome from that, you know? It just made people take Jordan Peterson more seriously, I think, if anything. So, yeah. And maybe that was the real goal. If so, that was just absolutely genius. But you never know. You never know which conspiracy is actually succeeding out there.
I remember that there's an old comic book of Captain America versus Batman, and they make Joker and Red Skull team up, and then Joker figures out that Red Skull is actually a Nazi, and then he goes, I may be an insane criminal, but I'm an American insane criminal. And he beats up the Red Skull. Like the Joker would be like anti-Nazi.
You remember the anti-Mormon Spider-Man that happened? Spider-Man was Mormon, and then he becomes anti-Mormon. Like, so there was a Spider-Man writer or comic artist who was Mormon, and he made Spider-Man with this like anti-BAM and CES letter, which is like the anti-Mormon thing, and esoteric here, and this like apple out of the bite thing, and they had to change it all and fire the dude, you know. And so now it says like Stride and Cortex and Service Industries and other things like that.
The hell?
Interesting.
Because yeah, he was covered in all these like anti-Mormon propaganda pieces to insinuate that Peter Parker used to be a Mormon and now he hates the church. Which was like, there's like all undertones, and everyone was like, "Well, dude, what are you doing?" And the Marvel's like, "We don't know. We're Disney. We're like doing cocaine." So eventually, they had to like fire the writer and prove, you know, that they didn't have anything to do with it by erasing it. So if you have those Spider-Men, those super lame woke Spider-Men from 2021 or whatever, they're worth money. You know, they're rare.
I'll try to seek them out.
All right.